Hi everyone, how have you all been? Sorry for being a little late there. I was just doing some. Well, I just got my new notebook here, so I can start making notes of the super chats on this, as opposed to just writing them down on this piece of paper, which I've been doing for every live stream. Like, I think it's been the last 9 live streams, that's what I've been doing, so I can start documenting everything on this now, so that's what was taking me some time. What was also taking me some time was which order I should talk about the stories in, and I was just rearranging my script, adding little notes to my notes, basically, so I'm on point when I'm talking about this stuff. So, but yeah, that's what I've been up to. How you guys been? I hope you've not been waiting for too long. I know I did make you wait a little longer this time for this stream. Let me just double check everything here. Make sure I've got everything in order. Yes, we'll be doing the David Ayer story first. Right on, I'm on 235. Let's see. Okay, so these are the stories I decided to go with. I did look at all the stories you guys were talking about, and there were some interesting ones here, but I was thinking, out of the things that I would have a lot to talk about, what would I really want to talk about? What could I want to get some mileage out of? What stories would I really have a lot to talk about? And I found which stories I would, and that's these 3. So, yeah. Now, as always, you guys know the drill. Where's my pen? There it is. You guys know the drill. When I'm talking about the stories, I'm not going to be answering any of your questions. But if you put super chats in, or if you use the link I've put in there, which says Streamlabs, and you donate through that, that means I get all the donation and YouTube gets none of it. They don't take any of the percentages of your donations. Then I will answer those in the middle of the stories. And of course, any donations you can give always helps towards the channel. In fact, it was your donations that allow me to get this for note-keeping when I'm doing these live streams. So your donations really do help. And on Patreon, you guys have been really coming in on there as well, which has also been really helping. So, as always, you guys, your generosity knows no bounds. So thank you very much, as always, for that. And, yeah, let me just start writing some notes here. Oh, hi, Hunter Johnson. Hi, Ethan's Drawings. It's good to see you again as well. I was supposed to do a stream yesterday, but I got quite busy, and I've been working like non-stop on that Chicken Run Versus video, which let's just say I did bump into a few copyright claims, and I was just doing some tests and music tests as well to make sure that I can upload the video and it won't get any copyright claims later, because it does seem to block them as well when you get those copyright claims. But the Chicken Run Versus video, I'll tell you right now, it's all done with the exception of the conclusion. I've edited the voiceover. All I've got to do now is put all the footage in, put all the music in for the conclusion. I got to level the music out. I've got to put the posters in and animate those. I got to put the score in as well, you know, the text for the score. And yeah, that video is ultimately done. It will go over to Patreon first for early access, and then you guys will get it on YouTube a few days after. And when I'm finished with the Chicken Run Versus video, I'm going to get straight to my top 5 best movies of the year and my worst of the year as well. So I've been writing my scripts down for those and my movies in order as well. I just need to organize my worst movies list. There might be a controversial one in there in my top 5 worst movies of the year. You might be surprised. I'm actually quite curious to see what you guys think when I put one of the movies on that worst of list. I'm really curious to see what you guys will think of me after you see me put that movie there. Okay, so normally I would do the streams on Sunday, but yesterday was just impossible to do that, so that's why I'm doing it right now. And yeah, we'll get to the story in a second. Let me just write some notes here. Next time, I swear, I'll have this already pre-written, so you won't have to see me do this during the stream, but yeah, let's this all written down. Okay. Everything seems to be a go. So, Phoenix Hunter, I like that you're putting guesses out there, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any answers. So, anyway, George Phillips says, what was your rating for Aquaman 2? I missed the last live stream. Well, I put time codes in the description, so if you want to see what my thoughts are for Aquaman 2, head on and watch it, and look at the... I put them in the description, so hopefully it should have put the chapters on the actual video timeline, but it didn't for some reason, which was odd. But I've also put it in the comments, and I've pinned it in the comments, so check that out, and you can watch my Aquaman 2 review. I've shown what it is, and you'll see all my information. Amon235 says, have you seen the Echo Daredevil fight scene? I have. I've got some thoughts, but I do intend to do a Let's Binge Watch episode of that. So for all of you that have been thinking I've been doing a lot of Let's Watches on my Patreon, I'm going to go back to doing a Let's Binge Watch of Echo. So stay tuned for that. Okay. I think it's about time we get into the story in this first story then. What do you guys think? So, right. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is David Ayer. That's not David Ayer, isn't it? That's James Gunn. Well, let's start by talking about James Gunn first. Now, James Gunn actually said, or at least David Ayer said, that James Gunn said, he said that, David Ayer said that he spoke to James Gunn, and James Gunn said, don't worry, the Ayer Cut will get its day. So, I find it very interesting, after that conversation where David Ayer seemed so enthusiastic, there he is, David Ayer, all of a sudden, he put this tweet out just recently. He says, I'm done with DC, which basically means the Ayer Cut that he's been trying to get out there, he's given up on it and thinks, yeah, it's just not happening. And he said that DC don't want it, and it's just not going to happen. He thinks he should just move on now, which is what he's going to try to do. And that is very interesting, because that is... To just simply put it as, I'm done with DC after what James Gunn had told him. I thought things were going to eventually work out for him. It would take time, but it would work out for him. But it seems that he's no longer pursuing it, which means that he has no hope that it's going to work. So, that is very strange, because James Gunn did say to him that the Ayer Cut will have its day, and David Ayer seemed very happy at the time. Now, there were further comments that he wrote about that, and I've written them down here so I can read them to you. Further comments he made was when he responded to some people's questions, and he said someone asked him if he is still going to petition the movie going forward, and he said, David Ayer said, "Nope, done and done. Very sad. You'll be fine after a good cry. I feel healthier. It's a wound that needs to heal." And he also said, "Nothing about the situation feels good. The studio has no interest in releasing it. It's time to run and not look back." And in a final post, he said, "Don't need to be walking around with a begging bowl. Gonna protect my heart more moving forward." So yeah, the guy is essentially done. And what I want to ask is, how do you guys feel that the Ayer Cut is not going to be happening? How do you feel about James Gunn, seeing as James Gunn told him that the Ayer Cut will have its day, and it seems like he's either been overruled on the situation, or he just lied to him and just said that to him so he could stay quiet and maybe keep his fan base at bay? I don't know. It seems very bizarre. Now, I will do a poll here. Let's see. Can I do it with the... No, I think I have to go to YouTube to actually do it. Okay. So, let's put a poll right here. Do you still want the Ayer Cut? Yes, no, and the third option, I don't care. There you go. The poll is out, and we'll see what you guys think. I'll tell you what I think. Am I as excited for it now as I was before? No, I'm not. However, I mean, the movie is practically shot the movie is shot already, so there's a whole other movie out there that exists, and I do think it's a shame that we just won't ever be able to see it. I like the idea that it's out there, and you know me, if it came out, I would have done a versus video with the theatrical Suicide Squad and the Ayer Cut. So just like we got a Zack Snyder's Justice League versus Joss Whedon's Justice League, you would have got a very similar versus video from me. And that is something I would have been looking forward to doing, another versus video in that vein. And yeah, as Pizza Man says, might as well just release it. It's like, yeah, for those that want it, put it out there. For those that don't, you know, they don't have to watch it. And I don't think it would have cost them very much either. I think they should have just done it earlier. Or maybe just released it as a special thing, like saying a final goodbye to the DCEU, we're going to do this, and then we're going to start with a clean slate. Something like that. But doing it the way they did it, it just doesn't seem... It seems a bit messy and a bit cruel. But at the same time, I can see why they would do it. I think there have been the Snyder fans out there that have just gone too over the top, to the point that they have been quite trolling. Even to people like me. It's got to a point where it's been like quite ugly, where how they've been speaking to me as well. And I was all for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm kind of just... I think the air has been spoiled. There has been toxins going in the air. I think there's a lot of been... It's gotten quite ugly, I think. And the fan base, they weren't doing a very good job. I think at the beginning it was like something inspiring and really cool. But then it just got kind of ugly. So it's like a part of me understands why they just want to put it to bed. So yeah. And if a significant amount of people that wanted to see the Snyder Cut, if it really was a significant amount of people, then the numbers would have come in, and Warner Brothers would have been like, yeah, if this is how much subscribers it can get us on HBO Max, and this is the kind of business it's doing, then yeah, let's release the Ayer Cut. I feel like that's what would have happened if they had gotten very good numbers. The fact is they didn't. So that's why they ultimately did not want to, I think, in the end. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Jess says, hey Eric, Darkseid has made his live-action debut in the Snyder Cut, and I wanted to see more of him in the future movies, but I'm sad that it's not going to happen. Yeah, I was interested to see what Zack Snyder was going to do with his version, and it did seem like his version was going to come and really cause havoc. Raven says, what are your thoughts on anime translation drama going on? My thoughts, if you can do your job, you should. I get fired? You need to rephrase that, buddy. I feel like I'll answer it wrong. Would James Gunn rehire Henry Cavill? I don't think so. And to be honest, if I was in his position, I wouldn't rehire him either. Because if you rehire Henry Cavill, you gotta rehire everyone else. You gotta get Ben Affleck back, you gotta get Gal Gadot back, and you gotta get Ezra Miller back, and then Ray Fisher back. But there's just too much controversy or too much situations going on with those actors. And it's almost 10 years after Batman vs. Superman now, and I think at this point, it's like they've become much older now, these actors. They don't look as young anymore to play these characters like Batman and to have several more movies. So it's like, yeah, it could have been done, but for a long-standing franchise, they wanted the actors when they're at a certain level, but I think too much time has passed to just go back to it now. Fred S. No, I did not. I don't watch the Golden Globes, but I did look into who some of the winners were for some of the movies that I cared about. So, yeah. So, I'm going to end the poll in a bit. There's 46 of you watching right now, so go ahead and jump into the poll and put your own opinion in there before I close it off, and then you can't vote on this poll anymore. And don't worry, those of you that are asking me questions, we'll have a Q&A session later. Like I said, if you want, right now you have to ask me questions based on this subject. If you want to ask me different questions, I'll answer that in the Q&A. Or if you want me to answer those different questions right now, then that's what the Super Chats or the Streamlabs chats are for. Okay, I'm going to end the poll right now in 3, 2, 1. There you go, the poll has ended. Let's take a look at the results. So, do you still want the Ayer Cut? 59% said yes, 40% said I don't care, and 0% said no. Which kind of falls into the no category, I think, pretty much. So, yeah, that's fair enough. But it does seem like a significant amount of you wanted it. But I can't help but wonder, is that you guys wanting it because you wanted it? Or is it you wanting it because you wanted me to do a versus video of it? So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the situation. What do you guys think about James Gunn? Because James Gunn, like I said, he did promise, according to David Ayer, James Gunn did promise him that his Ayer Cut will see the light of day and will get its day, but it turns out it hasn't. Do you think he lied? Do you think it was Warner Brothers that stepped in? We'll talk about that and then we'll move on to the next story. And like I said, as always, if you want to ask me any questions, super chats are there for that particular thing, and I'll answer it during these stories. Otherwise, it will be later. And if you do the Streamlabs chats, I will get the email of it, and I'll be able to answer your questions instantly from my phone. Your money's on the studio. I feel like it was James Gunn. I don't think he wants to focus on DCEU anymore. M. Hampton says, I'm scared of the new Superman. Me too. Let's hope James Gunn comes through on this. My money's on the studio. More like Amber. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say there, Pizza Man. Tony V, let him cook. Yeah, I agree with that. I've said let him cook as well. I've not given up on James Gunn, but it's fair to have confidence in him and to have, like, your reservations about him as well. Fraser Donnell says, I know this is a tough question, but what one is better, Suicide Squad or the Justice League Joss Whedon version? I'd say the Justice League Joss Whedon version. Because, I mean, there are still bits of Snyder's stuff in there, and a lot of the action scenes, like them fighting Superman and, you know, the bank fight with Wonder Woman and stuff, a lot of that was stuff that Zack Snyder did. They reshot some of the other action scenes, but there were some of his action scenes in there. Granted, they were edited down, but still, there's still good elements, I thought, in the action sequences. I did enjoy the action, I remember, in the first Justice League. Jess says, Amber Turd and extra Miller, you mean Ezra, Amber Turd and Ezra Miller should be vanished from the DCEU. Yep, and if you saw my review of Aquaman 2, they pretty much did make Amber Heard vanish from the movie. So, yeah. Okay, then. That is the story right there. Now let's move over to this. Okay. Okay, so moving on to the next story. Stephen Yeun. Now, Stephen Yeun, which I'll give you a picture of right here. Whoopsie-daisy. I got that little blunder wrong. Here. Stephen Yeun. You might remember him. He is actually the voice of Invincible. And apparently it was said by the MCU, Marvel basically had cast him as this superhero called Sentry. Now, Sentry, I had to look him up because I didn't know anything about this character. I'd heard of him, but I'd never seen him. Now, Sentry is a superhero that started out as a drug addict. And one day, he breaks into a laboratory and he takes an experimental version of the super soldier syndrome, thinking it's a drug that he wants to take to get high. And he takes it, and he ends up turning into Sentry, a superhero. And once he turns into that superhero, he tries to reform himself and do better. But the only problem with that is that his newfound powers personify his dark side into something that is called the Void, which is basically a manifestation of all his fears and insecurities. So he is kind of like Moon Knight in that way, a hero that has to battle with two personalities. And Fraser has said exactly one of the things that I also uncovered, which is that Sentry is the guy in the World War Hulk who can really defeat Hulk in the comic. Yeah, he does something with Gamma or something which can basically put the Hulk down and like calm him down. So that is very interesting. So yeah, he is meant to be a very powerful superhero, which we'll talk about. But yeah, he is kind of like Moon Knight in the sense that he's a hero that he has to battle with two personalities of himself. And that is interesting, I'll say that, but the thing is, based on the very basic research of him, he sounds like he could be an interesting character, but I just don't trust Marvel to pull it off. Because this should be a very deep and dark character study, but the furthest that the MCU is willing to go is what they essentially did with Moon Knight. And I thought Moon Knight was very disappointing, and I also thought they pulled back too much with him as well, where they would keep going back to their safe space. It's like they wanted to go dark, but then they couldn't, and they kept pulling back. So I doubt they'll be able to pull off this character, because it's essentially the same thing. The more you think about it, he's almost like a version of Homelander, you could say. He is also supposed to be one of the most, as we mentioned earlier, he's also supposed to be one of the most powerful superheroes in the MCU. And don't we have enough of those in the MCU? Especially with Emilia Clarke's Gaia in Secret Invasion? So at this point in time, the character seems like a mistake to me, to be honest with you. But going back to the actor at hand, what we're talking about here is that Steven Yeun, he was essentially supposed to play Sentry here, but he apparently left the role. He left it, and now let me first say this. He's a good actor. We've seen him in Invincible. He's very good in that, and he's done a very good job. If you've seen Invincible Season 2, the first few episodes, they're doing multiverse stuff in that, and he's got a different personality. He's very good at switching his personalities. He puts a lot of that in his voice. But me and a lot of other people thought that he seemed miscast. I mean, just look at Sentry in this picture, and then look at Steven Yeun. Why would they hire him to play the character? You would expect someone who's more bulky, more of a supermodel, if you know what I mean. That's what it looks like Sentry is supposed to be. But yeah, they're not doing that. Now, Steven Yeun, like I said, he seems miscast for this. And I feel like Marvel is having that issue a lot right now. For example, we heard that they were trying to hire Mila Kunis to play the Thing at one point. That was one of the rumors that turned out to actually be true. That they were looking to try to diversify the Fantastic Four, but they just didn't know how. And they tried to put Mila Kunis as the Thing, which would change the Thing's relationship with Reed Richards, which would change the relationship between the Thing and Johnny Storm, when Johnny Storm always makes fun of the Thing. It was just a mess. Like, I thought that was really such a stupid idea, but they were really trying to force being diverse in that, to the point where it just didn't make sense anymore. And they were even thinking of hiring Daveed Diggs, who I mentioned in my The Little Mermaid Versus video. Daveed Diggs, who voiced Sebastian in the live-action Little Mermaid remake, I thought he was a very bad choice, and imagining his voice as the Thing just did not work. And now they are thinking of hiring Anya Taylor-Joy, who is a great actress, but they want to cast her as a gender-bent Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four. So, Steven Yeun, I think, was miscast, but this seems like a bigger problem. It seems like Marvel seem to be hiring actors for their name, but they are not casting them because they have a great role that actor can play. For example, a better role for Anya Taylor-Joy, who's going to be in that new Mad Max movie, a better role for her in the comic book world would have been, what I've been saying for a long time, would be Harley Quinn in Matt Reeves' Batman universe. When they were originally going to make that Arkham show for, the Matt Reeves universe, a lot of people are saying, oh, if there's gonna be an Arkham show, that means you need Dr. Harley Quinzel there, who can play her? And a lot of people were saying Anya Taylor-Joy would do a very good job. And yeah, so that is a very good idea. Put her in a Batman universe. But no, Marvel want to cast her as Silver Surfer. This makes no sense. It feels like they're just hiring them for the sake of hiring them. It doesn't feel like they're hiring the actors because they can play the character anymore. They're just saying, oh, you're a name, let's put you in our movie. You're a name, let's put you in our movie. Oh, but we haven't got another high-profile female character to give you in our Fantastic Four movie? That's okay, we'll just gender bend our Silver Surfer character and let you play that instead. There just feels to be no care anymore in the casting of these superheroes, is what I feel. Matt Reeves cared, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. James Gunn cares. When you look at his Superman casting, that's inspired casting in that, especially the Jimmy Olsen actor. But when you look at what Marvel are doing, it feels like they're just casting people for the sake of casting people. And I really don't like what they're doing. So, yeah. Now, Steven Yeun, he left this project. He left a project that he was supposed to be in called Thunderbolts. Now, Thunderbolts... Let me see if I can show you. Looks like I forgot to get this picture. Give me a second. I'll bring it into the live stream. But this is a picture that a lot of people have seen. Let's bring it in. There we go. Okay. I'll bring in the Thunderbolts image right now. There you go. This is supposed to be the Thunderbolts. Now, the Thunderbolts are supposed to consist of a bunch of... They're essentially like the Legends of Tomorrow, if you remember that CW show, where basically they're just taking a bunch of the scattered superheroes and villains that are left, and rather than just leaving them on the side doing nothing, they're just putting them together as a team and putting them in the movie. And what this is supposed to be is Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, essentially. Because you got some bad guys in here, and you've got some heroes. It's that kind of thing. And yes, I do agree, George Phillips' Legends was awful. I watched the first season, and then I watched the first episode of Season 2, and I could not sit through it anymore. But this is basically what it is. They're trying to make it like a Suicide Squad. And the only thing is whereas James Gunn did a very good job with the Suicide Squad, and I feel like he almost kind of did the Suicide Squad again with Peacemaker, except it was just a even lesser known group of heroes, or villains slash heroes, you know, anti-hero, whatever you want to call them. With this, they're trying to put a bunch together, and it's going to be a PG-13, well, not even a proper PG-13, but a Disney Marvel PG-13 Suicide Squad. And I just was not interested in that, to be perfectly honest with you. And from what I hear, the writer for this movie, this was going to be shot before the writer's strike, I think, but they were trying to rewrite the script so many times and they delayed the shoot because apparently the script for this is very bad, I hear, behind the scenes. And so apparently what they've done now is they've gotten that show Beef. Have any of you guys seen that show Beef? I've not seen it, but I've heard very good things about it. In fact, we'll talk about that in a second with regards to the Golden Globes. But apparently they've got the writer for Beef to come in and to write this show, write this movie. I think Thunderbolts was originally going to be a show, but then they turned it into a movie. Something like that. Might have been this one, might have been another. The show is called Beef, if I remember correctly. It's supposed to be Beef. And apparently the writer for that show, yes, Beef, Jess, Beef. And apparently the writer for that show is now writing the script for this. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because like I said, I've not seen the show, but I've heard a lot of people say great things about it. And basically, getting him on as a writer, I feel like if they gave him agency, it could be cool, but knowing Marvel and the quality of their scripts lately, most likely, I think they will probably come in and reshoot it like crazy. Give him a bunch of stuff and like prerogatives to follow and say, you gotta do this, 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 and this. And it'll just end up being another Marvel script is what I think. You gotta put more jokes in there, put more quips in there, and stuff like that is what I think they're gonna do. So even if you get a good writer, I don't think this can be any good, but just look at that group. They want to make a movie out of this, including Taskmaster, who they also gender bent into a female for no reason. So, yeah. Can't wait to see another one of that. I thought that was a bad villain in Black Widow in her movie. But anyway, you might also notice that Yelena is in the middle of the group, and that's because she's meant to be the leader. Even though I've been saying for a long time now, Bucky has been in the MCU since the first Captain America movie back in, when was it, 2011? So he's been in the MCU now for like 13, 14 years. So what I was saying, when will he become the leader? He wasn't given Captain America in Endgame when the shield was given to Falcon, which I initially thought was a good idea until I saw his show and I thought it was just badly handled. But yeah, Bucky was, it's like, what is he doing? How come he is still not in the spotlight? He's kind of like just in the background, if you know what I mean. He's not, he should be a leader at this point. When will he get his time? But Yelena, she only popped up a couple years ago, and now all of a sudden she's leading a team? How does that seem fair? Bucky, the actor playing Bucky, Sebastian Stan, he must feel really let down by this. I agree, Batman's Gamer, poor Bucky. However, I think it was at the premiere for, was it Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, or was it the premiere for the Marvels? It was the premiere for one of those crappy movies. He basically says that Bucky is going to be the leader. So I think because a lot of criticisms were coming for the fact that, were coming at Marvel for the fact that it was just being like an MCU, I think that's why Kevin Feige reacted, and he was like, okay, let's put Bucky in the lead. So that's basically what's happening. But if people did not complain about it, then yeah, they would have just made Yelena the leader of the team. She should be second in command, maybe. But yeah, Bucky should be the freaking leader. I mean, that's just no... It's just common sense that he's been around for so long and he's still like just in the back of the team, the back of the lineup. That's such a stupid thing on their part. So yeah, Bucky is now part of the group, which is, well, the leader of the group, which is good, but I still have no faith in this movie. I don't trust that they'll do a very good job, so yeah. And by the way, going back to Steven Yeun, he's supposed to be another character within all of these characters in the movie. He's supposed to be Sentry in all of this. I don't know if they're going to make him the bad guy or what, but I just don't trust Marvel with him. But going back to Steven Yeun, like I said, he left. Now, he didn't get fired. At least I don't think he did. It's from what it sounds like he quit. Now, here's the thing. They keep saying scheduling issues, because that's what the reports were saying about Steven Yeun leaving, that he left because of scheduling issues. But that's the same that's the same excuse they gave about Jenna Ortega when she left the Scream franchise 24 hours after her co-star Melissa Barrera was fired for expressing her support, and rightfully so, for the Palestinian people. That's why they fired her, and then Jenna Ortega 24 hours later also quit. She quit herself. She didn't fire. Melissa Barrera got fired. Jenna Ortega quit 24 hours later. And the trades were really trying to push it, that saying, oh no, scheduling conflicts. That's nonsense. Scheduling conflicts and creative, what was it? They call it scheduling conflicts and creative differences. Those are both the go-to excuses for Hollywood if they want to make as little a scene out of someone's firing as possible. They do that if they don't want the actor to look bad, and they don't want themselves to look bad. That's when they usually do that. And yeah, no one bought it when they says, oh yeah, Jenna Ortega, she left because she was scheduled for the Wednesday or something. People did not buy that. They were like, no. The stupid people bought it, the ones that are gullible. But the smart people who know how the Hollywood business works, they were like, yeah, we know exactly what this is. This is you trying to save face and save your ass as well. So, and Melissa Barrera, all she said was that she wanted peace for both sides, and Hollywood actually thought that was offensive. So yeah, but by their standards, they fired her. So yeah, these scheduling conflicts are just very poor cover-up stories at this point. So when they says that Steven Yeun left because of, scheduling conflicts, I was thinking, no, something else must have gone on behind the scenes. And from what I heard, based on the people whose Patreon I follow, this is a little bit of inside information that could possibly have been the reason why Steven Yeun left. It says, Steven Yeun left the Thunderbolts movie because the production is a mess, and the director was giving him grief for being kinda nerdy. That is what I heard now from based on the person that I follow who has a very good reputation. So I don't know if that is true, but this is what someone with one potential source actually said, and I do trust that person and their sources. And I bet that Disney and Marvel wished that they hadn't done that now, because Steven Yeun just won a Golden Globe yesterday. And whenever you win a Golden Globe, it means you're pretty close to possibly winning an Oscar, because if you look at cross-reference the Golden Globe winners and the Oscar winners, it can change, but usually that's a good sign as to who's going to win an Oscar. So, yeah. I bet Disney wish they hadn't done that, because Steven Yeun won a Golden Globe just yesterday, coming off very shortly after the news of him leaving the MCU, and that just made his departure embarrassing for Marvel, because they've basically got rid of someone who just won a Golden Globe, whose stardom kind of like just went up. So yeah, they kind of screwed themselves there. which kind of like they kind of screwed themselves there, kind of like how Kathleen Kennedy fired Lord and Miller from the Han Solo movie, and then very shortly after they won Best Animated Feature for Into the Spider-Verse. That was a slap in the face to Kathleen Kennedy and Disney, and now they're having another slap on the face. And even though that recent South Park episode dealt them thousands of slaps in the face, I don't know how much more bitch slaps Disney can take at this point. Like, really, they're getting slammed from every direction. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on Steven Yeun leaving the Thunderbolts. What are your guys' thoughts on this? On Steven Yeun leaving? Did you think he was miscast from the beginning? Do you think that they should have given him a chance? Do you think him leaving because the studio is a mess and him possibly getting in with a bit of grief from the director was unfair? Sound off. What are your thoughts on this situation? I bet Topher Lloyd says, I bet we're going to have a she-Kang. That would be funny and scary. Although not as scary as the little PR tour Disney are getting Jonathan Majors to do right now. I think he was more miscast as Sentry than Pedro as Reed. That is interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, could he have been? I think he could, and I also think he couldn't. I don't know. I feel like he should have a role, but I feel like it's one of those that they should spend more time coming up with, and then coming up with a character, because he is a very good actor. Jess says, I hope Across the Spider-Verse wins at the Oscars, and they better not give to a generic movie studio. Better not give to a generic Disney movie. Yeah, they won't. Oh, you mean the Oscar and stuff? Yeah, I hope they will. They shouldn't. I think Wish was on there, which it bloody well shouldn't be. And what was on there as well? Elemental, which just broke even, and it wasn't even... Honestly, I think, yeah, Across the Spider-Verse should win, bar none. It's not even a contest. But if it doesn't win, it's a game being played. Which this whole thing is a game being played in Hollywood. There's even talks of people saying you can buy out Golden Globes, just not officially. Remember what Ricky Gervais, when he made a joke about that? He goes, what can you not buy? You can't buy a Golden Globe. Officially, is what he said, which was funny. So, yeah. Aurangzeb Khan says he really dodged a bullet by ditching Marvel. Yeah, I would say he has. I don't think Marvel is the place where actors can feel safe anymore. Like, if they scored a Marvel movie, they're in a safe place. They should be very much afraid. And they should. If I was them, I would look over at James Gunn at DC, see what he's doing. Topher Lloyd says, if Across the Spider-Verse doesn't win, I'll Will Smith slap everyone. Yeah, that would be fun. That was funny. Scared Driffy says, you're so hypnotizing. Could you be the devil? Could you be an angel? Your touch magnetizing. That is... I'm not even going to respond. It started out alright, but then it got a bit creepy when you said, could you be the devil? Pizza Man, I agree. Definitely Across the Spider-Verse should win. But yeah, it just kind of shows the situation Marvel are in, doesn't it? They're not in a particularly good one, are they? Connor says Mario or Across the Spider-Verse. One of these two, or we all riot. I don't even think Mario should win. It's no contest. Across the Spider-Verse should win. Animation is the most beautiful of all these animated movies that has come out. It's the most risky. It's the most different. It's the longest of all those movies, and it has a proper good story in there. Great characters. Spirit Hero says, I don't feel sorry for Disney in the slightest. They deserve everything coming to them. I totally agree. George Phillips, Across the Spider-Verse, in my opinion, is a top 5 comic book film to me. That's cool. The G-Gamer goes, wait, what about Boy and the Heroine? Shouldn't that compete with Across the Spider-Verse for the Oscars? I've not seen that movie. Yes, Topher Lloyd, I have seen Megamind years ago. Jess says Across the Spider-Verse is the best movie of all time. 9 out of 10. That's great. I like Megamind too, guys. That was a funny movie with a very good twist in there. Oh, look at that. When did I get this super chat? I am sorry. I was paying so much attention to the story that I was giving, I didn't see that. Someone gave me a $3 super chat. Thank you very much. That would actually be the first. That's actually the longest I think it's taken to have a super chat. See the email. Oh, and now I've got another super chat in there as well. Wow, that was 2 very quickly. Thank you very much for the super chat. And this is not even the super chat on the chat. This is the Streamlabs chat, and I really appreciate when you guys give it to me from there. Because like I said, all your donation goes to me. None of it goes to YouTube. Let me see. It was Batman's Gamer. I'm sorry, buddy. Oh, and there's a $5 super chat here too. $3, $5. Man. $3, $1, and $5. Okay, so Batman's Gamer has left 2, and Jonah White, he did the first one. So Jonah White says, Ant-Man 3 or The Marvels? Jonah, you are actually asking me a question that I am going to answer in my top 5 worst movies list of the year. I don't think I can give you an answer right now. Let's see. All I will say is this. The answer might surprise you. That's all I'll say. You've seen my reviews for both movies. I'll leave it to you with that. And then we got Batman's Gamer, who said, with his $1 super chat, but you also left a $5 super chat, and you left no message there. Let's answer this one. Do you think Beyond the Spider-Verse will actually release this year? I hope it doesn't. The animators need the most time they can use. 2026 at least. I'll tell you what. That's a very good question. And the answer is, no, it's not going to come out this year. And I am certain it's not going to come out this year. Didn't they delay it indefinitely and say that it's not coming out this year? Because originally it was going to come out in, was it May or something? But no. I'm going to tell you guys. Do you know what I think? Thanks, Batman's Gamer, again for the donation. Like I said, I really appreciate it. It says here I was donating. I'm sorry it took me longer to respond to those, but it just came a bit late. But it came through. And I saw that, so thank you very much. Now, let me tell you guys about Beyond the Spider-Verse. And I'm glad Batman's Gamer brought this up. Batman's Gamer, if your message didn't come through, put your message here for the $5 donation you did, and I'll answer it. But yes, in answer to your previous question, I don't think the Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to come out this year. And guess what? I don't think it's going to come out the next year. I don't think it's going to come out the year after that. And I don't think it's going to come out the year after that. I think the movie will come out in 2028. Now, you might be wondering, do I think it's going to come out in 2028? Well, first off, the animators says, we have no idea how this movie is going to come out in 2024. One of the head animators said that because they said that we've not even worked on the third movie yet. So it'll take a long time. So that means it's not going to come out this year for certain. And the reason why I think that is because, let's see, Into the Spider-Verse came out. Let's see, when did it come out? Into the Spider-Verse came out in 2018, didn't it? Yeah, 2018. Into the Spider-Verse came out in 2018. But do you know what else came out in 2018? Spider-Man PS4. And then, 5 years later... So we got 2 Spider-Mans that year. And then, 2 years later... sorry, not 2 years later. 5 years later, 2018 to 2023, we got Spider-Man 2 for PS5, and we also got Across the Spider-Verse. That was 5 years for one sequel. Now, if we go by the same schedule for how long it took to make Across the Spider-Verse, I'm betting it'll take another 5 years to release Beyond the Spider-Verse. And in another 5 years, guess what we're going to get? It was leaked from Insomniac's database. We're going to get Spider-Man 3, the game, in 2028. So because both of these games and movies have shared a year for their release date, most likely, third time's a charm, I am betting that a Beyond the Spider-Verse will come out the same year that Spider-Man 3, the game, comes out, which is going to be 2028. So you're not going to get a sequel, in my estimation, for Across the Spider-Verse until 2028, unless they really overwork their animators and the movie comes out in 2027. That's what I think. So, yeah, that is basically what is going down. The animators need more time, so you said that you want it 2026 at least? I'm sorry, buddy, it's not going to happen. It'll be 2028. Yeah. Okay, now we've got Iron Warrior, who also did a super chat. Thank you very, very much, buddy. That is $7 super chat. Hey there. 1. Most anticipated movies for 2024. 2. Star Wars Bad Batch or Rebels 3? I'll answer that question right now. Bad Batch. And 3. Did the Spider-Verse movies make you a fan of Miles Morales? Yes, they did. That's where he really came into his own, because they didn't do any race swap, like we're going to do a black Peter Parker. They did what I've always criticized when it comes to these, these forced gender swaps or these forced race swaps, is make an original character. Don't just do the lazy way out, where you clearly couldn't care less. Do an original character, and they have, and he's thriving because of it. That is how you do it, not the other ways they've been doing it. So yeah. And most anticipated movies for 2024, I'll just give you 2 of the ones that I'm anticipating the most. The second one's a bonus. The first one is just, Most anticipated movies of 2024 is Joker 2 and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't really have much faith in the movie because I don't think the director is going to be that good, but I'm just going to... And I think it's because Disney took over. I heard rumors of transgender apes and stuff, which... This is back when Disney were really trying to go hard on being political, even if it did not fit the movie, which they're paying for now because movies take years to make, and that decision-making they made years ago has not been profiting them at the box office. So I don't think that this will work out for them if they try to do that. So I'm hoping that they don't do that with this, and they just treat it like an Apes movie, like a good Apes movie, because I'm a huge fan of the Planet of the Apes movies. Matt Reeves' movies made me go back to watch all the old Apes movies, and I love them. I only haven't seen, I think, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. That's the only one I haven't seen that I need to see. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the most anticipated. I would put Deadpool 3 on there, but I've just got too many questions. It's a Marvel movie, so I'm not anticipating it. That movie is the very definition of I'll judge it when I see it. Because like I said, Marvel, they have everything to prove. And I trust Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I don't trust Kevin Feige and the MCU, and I don't trust Disney, and they seem to have just these trigger fingers where they can't help but just force their hands into these other projects because they think they'll be able to save them when really they can't. Okay, so let's see. It looks like I've got another super chat. You guys are too kind to me. You really are. Let's see. Refresh the page. There we go. I've got a $5 super chat from Jonah White. I really got to get a new pen. I don't know why this pen always wants me to start scratching it constantly before it lets any ink out. Alright, Jonah White. $5 super chat, or $5 Streamlabs chat, says, I rewatched Zack Snyder's Justice League and remembered that the movie was rated R. Also, I love how you criticize Disney and Hollywood movies in a totally honest way, rather than how grifters slap woke to every movie before they come out. Love your videos. Oh, thanks for that, Jonah. That really means a lot. Yeah, I don't like when you get new people that come to my channel, they hear me use the word woke and they just think I'm instantly like all the others, because I disagree with all the others, but that doesn't mean I don't see where the others are coming from. They go too far a lot of times, like when they were saying Ahsoka was a woke show. That to me was not a woke show. There's certain stuff as well where I'm like, I can see how you could possibly think that, but it's not. And they just slap it on. Like some movies like The Batman, they were trying to say was woke because Commissioner Gordon in it was black, and they were hiring a black actress to play Catwoman. If it was any other studio, I would have been fearful because they have a track record of just forcing it. But I trusted Matt Reeves because he's not that kind of political filmmaker. The whole thing in War for the Planet of the Apes, when the apes had to build a wall, which was kind of like thematically similar to what Donald Trump was doing, I was like, people are drawing comparisons. I was like, huh, yeah. He didn't try to say, see, Woody Harrelson's character, he's Donald Trump, like what a lot of stupid, poorly written villains were doing, where they're just black and white evil. No, he did it in a way to where it's like he was doing true filmmaking, where the film predicts events that happens in the future, which is what he did. And he even did the same when it came to the Batman as well, with like the people online, like, you know, building like this all little dark web sort of like area. He's a very good filmmaker, so when he casts someone, I fully trust that he knows what he's doing. And if he's cast a black actor, I was like, let's see if I can what I think. And I ended up loving both Gordon and Catwoman in that movie. I did think Gordon could be better in terms of character development, because he's not as good, I think, as Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman, he looked like Commissioner Gordon from Batman Year One. But yeah, there's a lot of good examples of where these diverse castings are done well, but I feel like there are just more bad examples. So yeah, I don't slap woke to everything, but when I see it, I will call it out as such. And Disney, that's why they're basically losing so much money now. People can just see through it. Even the people that are for Disney's gender bending and race bending, even they're seeing through it now. To the point that Bob Iger says, yeah, we need to pull out of politics. We need to pull back. Even Bob Chapek, the previous CEO, even he says we need to get Disney out of politics. So that's clearly the answer. That is. But yeah. Thanks again, Trevor, for the $5 super chat. It really does help. Really, it does. Especially because on January and February, content creators make a lot less on YouTube because, you know, all advertisers go all in on revenue for Christmas, but then when Christmas has passed, they pull out and they spend so little on advertising, which means I get very little advertising revenue. So January and February are always very, very slow months for me in terms of like revenue stream. So your super chats and your Streamlab chats, they really do help. So thank you very much for your donations. Manola says, hi Eric, I'm just joining the stream now. That's great. I hope you and your family are doing well. We're doing very well. In fact, my family is watching season 5 of Cobra Kai right now, and I'm chatting to you guys, which is always part of the highlight of my week. Batman's game, what did you say? You already did what? They're not even going to lift the Echo embargo until the show releases. I heard that. They only gave him like 2 episodes, which is very bizarre. Do you know what rumors I heard about Echo? The rumors that I heard about Echo is that they even considered behind the scenes to do a tax write-off of the show, just like how David Zaslav has done. But because of the writer's strike, they're thinking, but we are running low on content because we had to pause our shooting schedule for so long. So they said, all right, put it out so we have some content rather than no content. So that's why they're putting it out, because their schedules have been delayed because of the writer's strike. But apparently they shot this show twice. So I've told you guys, that is why they've done the R rating. They've done the R rating because there is nothing else to sell you on this show. So if you slap in some CGI blood after the fact, you know, they think they can get some more eyes on the show after this. But yeah, clearly. And also they're releasing it all on day one, which is not something they would normally do. But they're doing it now because they think, let's just rip the band-aid off. Because if they didn't, do you know what would happen? They would get, week after week, it'll be trending on Twitter how Marvel are not doing good with their new show, how Marvel fatigue is still getting stronger, and also, the worst thing would probably be that there is no talk or trend on Twitter. Because that is the worst thing to them, that no one is talking about them. So yeah, I think they thought, yeah, just drop it all on one week, anything that happens, it'll just all happen at once, and then we can just be done with it. So, yeah. And didn't the showrunner of the show, or the director, or whatever, whoever it is, I saw a headline saying that they were trying to tease that there's a lot of MCU cameos in the show, which everyone was like, wow, the fact they're teasing that just goes to show that they have little faith in it. They're trying to get people to watch. But people are getting smarter. They're not falling for, just because it has an MCU cameo in it, means that it's going to be good. We need to watch it. People are not falling for that stuff anymore. Oh, Happy New Year to you too. You're tearing me apart. Aman says he's fed up of the Fast franchise. We'll talk about that in the Q&A later. Like I said, if you want to ask any of those questions, put in a super chat or a Streamlabs chat and I'll answer them immediately. But right now we should get back to talking at the story at hand, which we kind of were because it still was MCU related. And yes, Fast 5 is so good. Alright then, so the next story. But before we do, I think I just need a little glass of water. My throat is killing me. Okay. Alright. The next story and the final story is this. Now, two of these people you can recognize. You've got Kathleen Kennedy in the center. You've got Daisy Ridley on the left, who I have nothing against. The movies were not her fault. She did a very good job with what crap she was given. And then we have this new face right over here on the right. And her name... let's see. Her name is Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, if I'm pronouncing that right. And she is a Pakistani woman who is supposed to be the director of the new Ray movie. And she, if you want to know what kind of person she is, she said this: I think it's about time we had a woman come forward and to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. Let me repeat that. I think it's about time we had a woman come forward and shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, she's so humble, isn't she? Now, this has caused a huge stir on the internet because she's supposed to be the director for the new Ray movie, which no one wants. And people are like, why are you even trying to bring on this nobody director? Who even is she? And I'll tell you who she is, and I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you why I think this whole thing, this whole ploy that she's doing, is a complete fake. So you don't have to worry about this movie because it's not going to be made, and I will give you some very good reasons as to why. Now, let's first talk about that statement that she said when she goes, I think it's about time we had a woman come forward and to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. Now, this is nonsense, because Deborah Chow directed every episode of Kenobi, as well as some episodes of The Mandalorian. So that's a woman that's already, directed and shaped some stories. Bryce Dallas Howard directed several episodes of The Mandalorian as well. That is also a woman who has directed and shaped the story. And George Lucas's wife was integral to the creation of the original trilogy, if you look into that. That was also a woman who shaped the story of the Star Wars movies. And it doesn't stop there. Jennifer Corbett is the showrunner that Dave Filoni selected for Star Wars The Bad Batch. And that's another woman that's shaped stories in the Star Wars universe. And even Kathleen Kennedy has been the CEO of Lucasfilm for over 10 years. She sucked at it, but my point is, this Chinoy woman clearly has no idea about the company she's working in and the woman that came before her. She's acting like she is the first woman to tell a Star Wars story. And from what I can see, she doesn't give a rat's ass about Star Wars. She is just an activist who is trying to fail upwards into Hollywood, and she is trying to jump on the coattails of Star Wars to do it. Now, how do I know this? Because another writer in Hollywood did the same thing. Damon Lindelof here. Here you go. This is Damon Lindelof. This guy, I hear, is not a nice guy in real life. In fact, he's kind of a bit of an ass, is what I've heard. and very rude as well. And apparently he also ambushed Disney in the media and said that he was working on a Star Wars project. Because, what was her name? That woman that came in, that was Harvey Weinstein's assistant? Let's find... she did the Acolyte. Or she said she was going to. Leslie Headland, that was it. Now, Leslie Headland, they planted, it was during the pandemic, Kathleen Kennedy planted in the press that she was going to be working on a show, Star Wars show called The Acolyte, which we still haven't seen anything of, by the way. And apparently she was going to come and make that show, but Kathleen Kennedy, and both her and Kathleen Kennedy, they sideswiped Disney and did this. They took a shot in the dark. Disney had no idea that they were even doing this. But essentially they were trying to get something started, even though Disney said they didn't want it. And that's essentially what this Chinoy is doing as well. And not only that, but Damon Lindelof is also doing that. Now, like I said, they ambushed Disney, but he also ambushed Disney in the media and said that he's working on a Star Wars project. So he also tried to fail upwards and get his career ahead with a lie. And this article, look at what Disney did to him. They got him to leave. So this Chinoy woman is exactly the same. And add to that, she is a Pakistani woman whose filmography consists of documentaries that are anti-Pakistan. The only thing she directed, the only movie-related thing or TV show-related thing she directed, are a couple episodes of Miss Marvel. You see where I'm going here? Which some inside sources have actually said that they had to refilm the episodes that she directed because she didn't know what she was doing. Because directing a documentary is very different to directing actors on set. Yet, Spirit Hero, I am not kidding you, but you'd think I am, wouldn't you? Because this is ridiculous. So, knowing all of that, and are we expected to believe that Disney are going to give her $200 million to direct a Star Wars movie? Or knowing Disney, give her more than $200 million? A franchise that they are trying to resurrect from the dead as far as its movie prospects go in the theatre. Honestly, that right there will give you your answer. And when you take into account that the downright failure and incompetence of Disney in 2023, their leadership is currently in question, as a lot of investors are losing money on Disney and are pissed at Disney. And Disney is known as being a downright failure in 2023. So the CEO, Bob Iger, his ass is on the line because of his irresponsible spending and his bad business decisions. And with Nelson Peltz breathing down his neck and trying to get the board members to turn on him, and he's trying to get a seat in there, do you seriously think that Bob Iger and Disney are going to greenlight a Star Wars movie like that, with a woman like this who has directed nothing, and with Kathleen Kennedy, who has done nothing but cause them turmoil? The answer is no. Remember, Kathleen Kennedy announced this fake Rey movie when Bob Iger told her specifically not to. But she did it anyway, and I talked to you guys about that. This is the same project. And now, Kathleen Kennedy has hired this woman. Before, we didn't have someone attached to it, but now we do. And she is just another crazy activist that is trying to use Star Wars as a platform for her own agenda. Her career agendas, her political agendas, whatever it is. These are crazy people in Hollywood that are trying to jump onto these properties and turn it into their own image, rather than trying to continue the image that George Lucas created with it. And I'm sick of hearing this whole thing of, female-led Star Wars project now, because the way they talk about it is as if people who have been watching Star Wars have always hated women, and now we're going to get women in there. So I always hate it whenever... I'm sick of hearing this, because Star Wars fans have always been fine with female characters. Like in the Clone Wars, I've always mentioned Rebels, Padme in the prequel trilogy, even Leia in the original trilogy. So Star Wars fans have always been fine with female characters, and there have been a ton of them in Clone Wars and Rebels that they cosplay as, so there's been no controversy with them. It's only when the studio tries to politicize the female characters and raise them up at the expense of the beloved male characters that people take issue with. And Dave Filoni has never done that. Neither did George Lucas. But Kathleen Kennedy did. And this Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy seems to be cut from the same cloth. I mean, of course she would be. Kathleen Kennedy hired her. And she is just a talentless hack that is trying to fake announce a project and see if she can actually get it running and get it off the ground. I'm telling you guys, this is not going to happen. And if Disney do this or Bob Iger does this, then he's a bigger idiot than I thought he was. So, and also though, keep in mind, Bob Iger did recently say we are going to pull back and be less political. The last thing they want right now is for this to be in the works. So yeah, this movie is not happening, and anything this woman says, don't believe it. As much as she is trying to convince you, she doesn't have a movie coming. And once this all blows over, she will be completely forgotten, because Hollywood do not want to do business with someone devious like her. Even though they're a company full of devious people anyway. But I will say though, this news is damaging to Disney. Because they have lost out to Universal in terms of box office last year, and they are hurting bad. Normally they are the lead at box office every year. But Universal beat Disney. And they are hurting bad. And for this news to come out in the new year, this is the last thing they need right now. So things are very bad for Disney. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this whole situation. And also we got Iron Warrior, who's done another super chat. Thank you again very much for the super chat, buddy. He says, since we're on Star Wars, current thoughts on Acolyte? Yeah, my current thoughts on Acolyte, buddy, are that it's not going to happen. It's something that is only put there in the media because, like I said, this is her trying to do her... Just like how this Chinoy woman is trying to get a Star Wars movie in the press and make it seem like... And she's making comments, making it out like she's actually going to make it. She's not going to. I'm sorry for that. I kept Damon Lindelof's face on there. Whenever I was referring to it, I was referring to her. But yeah. Just like Kathleen Kennedy has been trying to say she's making these Star Wars movies like Rogue Squadron and all these other projects, she's not getting to make any of them. She wants us to believe that The Acolyte is being made, but we haven't heard of it. And Leslie Headland is now no longer spearheading it. So even if it does get made, the person that she put in charge of it, Leslie Headland, is off somewhere else doing another show, which apparently she got dropped out of as well. So, like I said, when people find out that they play these dirty games in Hollywood, they try to get rid of them because they don't want them to be working for them. And this Chinoy woman, she's going to be the exact same story. So we'll see what happens with The Acolyte. I would say The Acolyte has not even been filming because they didn't even have a budget. If they did, it's because of probably things that were done without Disney's knowledge. But from what I've heard is that if it gets done, it's going to be for the same reason Echo was put out. Disney just need more content on the streaming service. That's what I've heard. But if Jon Favreau can find a way to just say, I'm not even going to rework this thing, let's just dump it, that would be the best situation for everyone, I think. So, yeah. So, what, have you guys got any questions regarding this story? And Star Wars or anything? And again, thank you, Iron Warrior, for your super chats. I really appreciate that. Like I said, these January, February months for a YouTuber financially is quite hard, so I appreciate your donations, all of you. Batman's Gamer says Disney is dead. They just haven't realized it yet. Yeah, that is true. They have... I think in some ways they have, but Disney has always been in denial. I mean, the signs have always been there when people didn't like something, but they still decided to put that crap out there. Spirit Hero says, hey Eric, have you heard that Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie has been scrapped? Yes, I have. His Star Wars movie, it was an awkward interview where the woman that was interviewing him and asking him questions, she goes, is the Star Wars movie happening? And he goes, no. And with a smile on his face. And he's like, thanks. Like, she even found it a bit awkward as well. Like, she can tell she was taken a little aback because there was an awkward silence there for a couple seconds. Then he goes, thank you. Like, he wants to leave now. But Feige's brought it on himself as well. Like, Feige really has just bought it on himself, what, the state of the MCU, and female Silver Surfer, given what's going on right now, that is the last movie he has to make. That's the last thing you should be doing. Especially because I love the Silver Surfer. In that Fantastic Four 2 movie, the Silver Surfer was great in that. I want to see another Silver Surfer in another movie, but gender swapping it to a female character, it's like, I'm just freaking sick and tired of this now. So yeah, at this point, they're inviting all of it because they're making these dim-witted decisions. She Kang, says Topher Lloyd. Yeah, that would be scary, wouldn't it? Actually, I already answered that question with the same answer, too. Aman235 says, sorry about that. That was accidentally done by my young relative. I don't know what you mean. Jake, great to see you again, buddy. Hope you've been doing well. At a whole hotel right now. Can't give money. No problem. It's great to see you on the chat. I've not seen you in the last couple of chats. I've missed seeing you. But thank you very much for joining in. You just missed the stories that we were talking about, but yeah, I'm so glad to see your name. Like I said, I love all of you. This is my chance to get to speak to a lot of you, and I love seeing when you all drop by. Adam Grunther hasn't dropped by yet, but hopefully he still will on the stream. But Jake, I'm glad to see you. Busy with stuff. Yeah, tell me about it. I moved the live stream yesterday because I'm working on my Versus video, which is almost finished, and then I got to work on my top 5 best and worst movies lists. Then I've got to work on my Let's Binge Watch of the Echo show coming out. Topher Lloyd, I'll answer that question in a second. Matthew says, what do you think of recent Star Wars games? I didn't get to finish Jedi Survivor because on the PS4, I think I was just having a bit of a bad time. It got to a point where it felt a bit too maze-like, and I was like, I can't keep staring at this screen right here that I'm doing this video on. I can't just keep staring at this screen, doing a lot of backtracking. I need some actual I need like an actual guide on the map, because that game, it wants you to go through a whole maze-like level, then reverse the maze and go back. Just takes up so much time, and I heard the new game saves time on that and helps you not have to do that, because which is great, but I still haven't finished the first one. But I got it on my Steam Deck, and it's a lot easier to play on the Steam Deck, because you can move around, you can connect it to your monitor, you can disconnect it, so it's a lot easier to play on that. Frankie Beastmaker says, hi, I love your videos. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like my videos. Tony V says, really like your channel. You give the most honest reviews on movies. I really appreciate that. Given how many YouTubers there are, I'm glad you think that I give the most honest reviews. I always try to be honest. As you will see in my top 5 worst movies of 2023, I'll be very honest on one movie that a lot of people seem to like, but I really didn't. Jacinda says, Echo's coming out tomorrow. I hope it doesn't suck, but intrigued to watch it. Yeah, it is coming out tomorrow. Thing is, if I'm like you guys, sometimes I feel like I would just like to enjoy just a step back from making this content, because I really enjoy doing it, but you always have that feeling where it's like, okay, a show's out, do I have time to cover it? Because I've got to review it, and I've got to do all this stuff. It just feels like you've got so much to do, and it really piles on. I've still got my top 5 and movies list. Yeah, I've got my top 5 movies list to do, and yeah, it's tricky to do it and balance all of that out. I've got another $1 Streamlabs chat, which I've kept the link in the... I've put the link to my Streamlabs donation link in at the top of the chat. I've pinned it. And I do that because, like I said, this way none of your revenue or none of your donations goes to YouTube. It all 100% goes to me, so that's why I've done that. And I've got a $1 donation from Batman's Gamer, who's done another donation. Thank you very much, buddy. Eric, if you're talking about Disney, then look no further at Rachel Zegler, who bashed at Snow White, the very character she's starring as. Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about Rachel Zegler. Have I talked about her? Do you guys remember? Have I talked about her in any of these live streams? I can't remember. But oh, George Phillips in Echo Hour's out on Wednesday for us. Whoa, that's interesting. Maybe if I use a VPN or something. But yeah, I will try to watch it and do a Let's Binge Watch episode. A good old Let's Binge Watch. But yeah, Batman's Gamer says I never talked about it. Yeah, okay, I'll quickly mention it now. What Rachel Zegler did was not good. She was accusing the movie of being like this bad movie towards women and stuff, and it really wasn't. I've seen movies where you look back at them and you're like, yeah, that was in poor taste now. But I look at that, I'm like, that was one of the more innocent Disney movies. The prince wasn't stalking her. That was old romance at the time. She was singing, and then he was just walking by. He heard her sing, and then he just went over and sang with her, and then was just going to introduce himself like a gentleman, like a prince. And then she ran away and got scared because A, he's a stranger, B, she is very sheltered because of the queen, how she keeps her in the building, and C, or 3, it was just romance at the time. That is how romance was done at the time, and it's a classy romance thing, and it's a fairy tale. That's what you expect and stuff like that. It's very fantasized. To say that's not considered ethical or something is just silly. There's certain leeways you get, and that wasn't anything offensive. And even Gen Z, people that normally would get offended by this kind of stuff, looked at Rachel Zegler and said, "What the hell are you talking about, woman?" Like, they were like, it was like everyone came together at that one time, which is funny. And then Rachel Zegler was trying to turn around on her social media, was like pointing the finger at people and essentially using lyrics to say, "I just can't stand men," like saying it was just men that are bashing on her. Even though a lot of girls, I saw a lot more videos of girls bashing her on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. So yeah, she was not handling it well. Yeah, so it's funny, and the evil queen is also supposed to be Gal Gadot in the movie, who is kind of become an evil queen in real life over the years, hasn't she? The Imagine song, the way she became a real drama recently, but that's going more into politics and stuff. But Jake says, yeah, say what you want about the Little Mermaid remake, at least the main actress clearly loved the original and character. Yeah, I agree. She did. I never had a problem with the... Here's the thing. Whenever they cast these people, even going back to the female Ghostbusters, even going back to that, where it's clearly stunt casting and it's the woke casting type of thing, where they just said, just put women in it. But what else? No, nothing else. Just put women in it. It is kind of like... I keep thinking of the South Park thing. Put a chick in it and make her gay. It's like... That is literally their little tantrum pitch meeting that they have. You know, it's supposed to be a Ghostbusters, a movie about a bunch of guys. Yeah, put a women in it. I don't think any of them were gay. Were one of them gay? I can't remember, but it's literally just put a chick in it. It's kind of like how their pitch meetings go. It's not the smart way of coming up with story ideas, but I never have any problems I have. It never is to the actors or actresses that are in these roles. It's the people at the top that make these decisions, where you can tell they're more pandering decisions that are meant to make them look good rather than be the best choice for the character or for the movie. That's where I take issue with this kind of stuff. Batman's Gamer says, it wasn't forced, bro. What wasn't forced? Oh yeah, Snow White wasn't the only thing she bashed at. Jake says, you do like it, you're sexist. The Ghostbusters effect hasn't gone away. Oh, you don't like it, you're sexist, you mean. You do like it, you're sexist is what you wrote. Oh yeah, there's your correction. Don't. Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like that narrative is kind of sliding away because people are starting to realize when you look at the way these things are being done. I mean, just look at The Little Mermaid. That did kind of make headlines in the sense that they were like, yeah, that movie, it didn't do very well at the box office, and they tried to go down the whole racism angle, but there was a bit more open conversation, a little bit more open conversation. You can tell the tides are turning because Disney have realized, yeah, we're too much in this toxic political sort of like stratosphere right now, and we just need to get out because Universal are not in it, and they're going to have, in this year, they're going to have Despicable Me 4 coming out. They're also going to have Shrek 5 coming out at some point. Rumors are they want to make a Donkey standalone movie. They're kind of becoming the new Disney. I've said this many times, but Universal are in the place where Disney wish they were. But Disney have forced themselves into this corner, and now they're struggling to get out. Trevor Bristow says, I actually wrote a Star Wars story with Rey that is part of my universe, to be honest. I would do it better than Disney and even Kathleen Kennedy, and it would be like, EEAO and Loki? What's EEAO? Not entirely sure. Damn, I've got a cut on my finger. I was thinking, what is that itch/burn? I have eczema on my fingers, so that's why. Cold weathers like this, whenever the weather like has a drastic change, my skin has to adapt, and that's where you'll get the cuts. That's this adapting process. You get a bunch of cuts on your fingers and your neck. I got it on my eyelids recently, but they've gone away now. It just, that's the kind of thing that I have to do. Anyway, Jake says, hopefully Donkey's movie is close in quality to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, if the rumor is true. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope they put quality in this and they don't think quickly, get him out. I don't want that. That's what Disney is doing. Frankie Beastmaker says, I saw your Lion King video and I agree by so many miles that the original was better than the remake. The remake is flat. It's got no heart, and when Simba's father died, I did not cry in remake. Yeah, exactly. It was just pathetic in comparison. Have you seen the original Snow White? I actually haven't seen it all the way through, but I feel like I've seen the whole movie in bits and pieces because I used to come in and out of the room when my little brother used to watch it so many times when he was growing up and he was very little. And I think I've kind of just seen the whole movie in bits and pieces. But I was going to see it this year. Was the movie going to come out? Was it last year, actually? This year, I think it was, yeah. My intent was to watch it this year and then do a versus video. But now they've delayed it a whole year, so it'll take a while longer. Topher Lloyd says, this might surprise you, Eric. I just heard Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 was going to have a much darker and brutal ending where the symbiote consumes Eddie Brock to where he is nothing but bones. You mentioned this in a comment recently, didn't you? Where he uses his web to pull Eddie out of the symbiote, but it was all bones, is supposed to be. I think I heard you comment on that recently. My question is, how can the symbiote, really get anything from Eddie Brock if he's all bone? Doesn't it need a living human host to survive? So if he's all bones, then what is it really surviving on at that point? That kind of changes its whole sort of like biology in that sense. It's fake biology. Pizza Man says, hey Eric, what will be the worst Snow White remake? What will be worse, the Snow White remake or the Ray movie? Dude, you ask me hard questions. I think I'll say, in this particular case, I'll say probably the Snow White movie, based on those hippies that we saw that were meant to replace the dwarves. I mean, that was just silly. Jake says, by the way, did you look into the remake and original of Valley Girl? I'd still be into a versus video, though I'm probably the only one. Lol. I did look into it at the time. I think I looked into it a little bit more after when I left the stream. But no, I've not looked into it anymore beyond that, to be honest with you. I've just been so swamped. You're a busy man. I'm also a very busy man. I feel like I'm behind. I still haven't got that Spider-Man versus video out yet either. And I've got Echo to do now as well, so, which is coming out on Wednesday for me. So I'll have to watch it then, and then try to do the writing and video. But Chicken Run is almost done. I just got the conclusion to do. I've got to just, after editing the conclusion, I've got to export it. And then I got to do an audio check where I monitor the sound mixing of the whole video. And then I got to adjust those a few times, however much times I need to do it, and then publish it. And it'll go to Patreon first. Also, Jake, I'll just let you know, in future, if ever you want to do donations, make sure you do it with this Streamlabs link, because YouTube does take a small percentage from the earnings, and if you do it through Streamlabs, they take no percentage. So any donations, and I've said this to many people before, but I don't think I've said it to you yet, that way, none of you, because you do bigger donations when you've done them, YouTube's chunk will take a bigger chunk from you, but if you do it through Streamlabs, there'll be no chunk taken. Although I say that, but I don't know if you're still in the chat, so hopefully you are. Hui Toonmore goes, I have thoughts about doing my own take on Snow White, but maybe with dragons instead of dwarves, like in an actual interpretation of the story from Albania. That sounds different. But interesting the more I think about it. Dragons, huh? Who doesn't love dragons? Jake says, okay, I'll keep that in mind. That's good. No way. Because I think bigger chunks of yours would go to YouTube in that case. Batman's Gamer, yep, Jake is here. I like how you guys all know each other's names. When Adam Grunther shows up, you're like, Adam Grunther is here. When Jake is here, you're like, all like, Jake is here. I really do enjoy your guys' little the community that you guys have all become a part of here. Topher Lloyd says, for your information, Eric, symbiote's actually devouring its host. Peter would realize that this would have been him if he had the symbiote suit for so long. Yeah, but it bonds with the host. I don't think it devours the host. That's what they said, isn't it? It's supposed to bond and amplify the negative characteristics of its host. Is Carl Urban a good choice for Johnny Cage? I don't think he is, to be perfectly honest with you. You know what? Let me do something a little different here. Let me get rid of those two women and Daisy Ridley, who does seem genuinely quite nice. And let me put myself here. How's that? For the Q&A sessions, a bigger screen for you guys to see me on rather than in the top right corner. Batman's Gamer even says the symbiote doesn't devour. Eric, what are your thoughts on Quest for Camelot? I've never seen it. I've only seen clips of it, and I saw, I think, some reviews, but that was it. But yeah, I've never seen it myself, personally. It did seem like a really silly movie. Especially some of the things that Gary Oldman has to say in that movie as the villain. George Phillips says, thank God, I was getting annoyed looking at Kathleen Kennedy. Cole Burnell says, how would you rank all the Spider-Man movies? That's a big question. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to quickly mention Avatar: The Last Airbender. The show is coming out on Netflix next month. I'm going to be doing I do plan on doing a versus video, and I hope they do a split. I hope they do a split where they split the first half of the season and then the second half of the season that Netflix has been doing. That should be easier for me to cover if they do that. Otherwise, it will be tricky and hard as heck. But how would I rank all the Spider-Man movies? Spider-Man 1. I'll just say to you right now, this might not be my actual list, but it keeps changing. This is what my list is right now off the top of my head, so I'll just let you know that now. Spider-Man 1, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 3, and then Alright, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 1, and then we have Far From Home, No Way Home, and Homecoming. That's 10 Spider-Man movies. I hope I got all that. Got all them in, I didn't miss one. By the way, I was surprised that next month we've got the Madam Web coming out. I was like, man, that was quick. It's interesting. It's like when you're in the year 2024, even if it's December, the last month, you think, oh, February of 2024, that's a while away. We're still in 2023. But when it hits January, you're like, oh, wow, that's just next month. Sony are going to have a bad one with that. They really are. Jake says, what are your thoughts on the movie Scott Pilgrim? I didn't really like it very much. I thought there'd be a transition to it getting crazy. I didn't know it would just get crazy instantly like that, and you just expected to go with it. And that Culkin in that, when you have, what's her name? Anna Kendrick, that was it. When you have Anna Kendrick in your movie, I don't know how a Culkin staring at you would end up turning you gay. And she's like, again? I was like, what, again? That was, to me, that was a little freaky. I was like, I swear, he's got to be some kind of supervillain. When he stares lustfully at her boyfriends or whatever, I swear he's doing some kind of mind manipulation on them. Because how do you go from Anna Kendrick to a Culkin? Or to any dude after that? Bizarre. It's like she would turn a gay person straight, but then they'll try and say, oh no, it's the other way around. I was like, that was weird to me. That was just so weird. It's meant to be a funny joke in the movie, but to me, I was like, I swear, he's got some kind of hypno-stare power going on that no one's been aware of. The movie itself, though, the best scenes in the movie, I thought it was well made. I definitely could see the appeal to people. But the best thing in the movie to me was Chris Evans. He was really funny as the stuntman. It's a shame that his role was just so small in the movie. It really was a shame. I wish they did something more with him. Madam Web better have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in it. Do you agree, Eric? No. Just keep them all out of that. You can put Tobey Maguire in there, who's my favourite Spider-Man. It still wouldn't be good. Heck, you could put Tobey Maguire in there, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, and you can bring in the Spider-Verse Spider-Mans just for the sake of it. Just throw them in. I'd still not want to see it. I'd say, no, take them out. They should not be put into a piece of crap like that. The rumor is that Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3, Topher Grace, he was going to be in it. As Venom or just as Eddie Brock, I don't know. But that's what I heard. And yes, Jess, go ahead, tell me the joke. But that's what, yeah, no way. No way at all. That's going to happen. Let's see. Any other questions? Let me double check my Streamlabs to make sure you guys haven't asked something and I've missed it. Yep, I haven't missed it. That's good. Jess, that is the same joke you always tell. But good job, bud. Good job. Oof. Feeling a little tired. After I do this, I'm going to have food, and then I'm going to have to come back and finish editing my Chicken Run Versus video. Then tomorrow I gotta get... I know, Jess, it's okay. You can continue to do that in the future streams, it's alright. And then tomorrow I gotta work on the top 5 and top 10... top 5 best and worst movies of the year list. And then I'm gonna have to work on Echo, which I might work on simultaneously, because I want to get Echo out as soon as I can before it doesn't become relevant anymore. Hey Eric, I watched Joker for the first time. It was dark, haunting, and freaking amazing. 10 out of 10 all the way. Yeah, it was really good, especially in the theatre, where everyone went quiet towards the end. Like, you could hear a pin drop. It was that tense. Jake says, do you know the Ratchet & Clank games? I do. I haven't really... I tried to play one on the PSP a long time ago, because I just wanted a new PSP game. I didn't stick with it all the way through. I think there are better kind of like third-person platformers, if you know what I mean. The PS5 one, though, did seem very interesting. And on my Steam Deck, I could potentially eventually get one. Get the game on that. Because they released it for PC, didn't they? But yeah, I'm not super excited about any of the Ratchet & Clank games, because they're cool when you see them, but I'm like, do I want to spend hours and hours on them? I feel like if there was a more simplified version of the game, one that can last for about 4 hours, I think I would have fun with that. But the ones that go on for 10 hours or whatever, I don't think I have the attention span for a Ratchet & Clank game to go on that long, because there's just so much other games to play. Games nowadays are kind of like streaming services. There's just so much content out there, and there's so much games out there, and they seem to be getting longer in some ways. Like the Hogwarts Legacy game, I still haven't finished that. There's a lot of filler in the game as well, like too much filler. I'd like a more streamlined version of Hogwarts Legacy, because when it does get the story going, it's fun and interesting. When you got to do favors for kids and for professors and things, it just gets boring. Jake says, you said you have an unpopular opinion on a top 5 worst list. I have an idea what it is. Okay, you feel free to put it in the comments, but I can't approve or even deny if it's true or not. But yeah, I actually did hesitate when I was writing that in my script and I put it in a certain spot, I was like, "Oh, these guys gonna hate me for this." George Phillips says he thinks it's Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm on. Superman and Lois is not a movie, it's a show. Honestly, I thought Ant-Man 3 was worse than the Marvels. Well, that was something that someone asked me earlier, and I said you're going to have to wait and see. Jess says, my Morbius joke is better than the MCU. Yeah, it sure is. Alec Barton says, did you see the port of Hogwarts Legacy on Switch? It is goof. You mean it is good? It was good. It was good what they did. But it's interesting that on the Steam Deck I've got it, and it also runs very well on that. But yeah, Barbie, says Jake, that is actually also a very good idea, but I'm not going to tell you if it's true or not. Got another $3 Streamlabs Super Chat. Where is my pen? Oh, there it is. Losing my pen today quite a lot. That's weird. A $3 Super Chat, or Streamlabs Chat. Let's take a look what question you've asked. Have you watched Creed 3 to get another viewing of Jonathan Majors acting after he was initially announced to be Kang? I haven't, and the reason why is because Sylvester Stallone wasn't in it. And that was ultimately why I wanted to watch. It's ultimately why I wanted to watch the first two Creed movies, but with him out of it, it's just I'm not that into Adonis Creed's character enough to want to see it. His name was Adonis, right? Am I getting that right or wrong? King K goes, hi Eric, sorry I'm late. Is your Spider-Man vs. Spider-Man 2 video almost done? It's not almost done. I put it on pause because I'm working on my Chicken Run versus video because I wanted to get that out very quickly while the movie is still new and trending on Netflix. That is close to being done. Then I got to work on my top 5 best and worst movies lists of the year. And then I got to work on Echo, let's binge watch Echo. And then I'm going to get back to work on Spider-Man. So yeah, trust me, I want to get back to work on that. That's going to be about a 40-minute video, I think. 40-45 minutes. That's me estimating. It is quite a hefty video. And to scrub through game footage is not particularly fun. It's just hours and hours of stuff to scroll through. Worried 6 says, anticipated Netflix stuff, give me 7 options. I can't really give you 7 options because I don't think I've looked into it. Although I can give you one option, which is the Avatar The Last Airbender show. But make sure you watch the animated show first, because that's going to be, I can tell you right now, is already going to be far superior. Batman's Gamer says, what have you finished in regard to the Spider-Man Versus video? Wait, 40 minutes? That's days of editing. You don't know the half of it. That is a lot of writing. It's a lot of editing, it's a lot of voice recording, it's a lot of footage you have to scroll through to accommodate 40 minutes of a video, it's a lot of background music I've got to put in, it's a lot of sound mixing I've got to do because I've got to adjust the sound mixing for all of it, it's a lot of other animations I've got to do. That is a hell of a lot. That's why my 3-way Spider-Man Versus videos that were so in-depth used to take so long to make. And I used to do that on my laptop, which used to take like 15, 16 hours to export the final video of those Spider-Mans. Have you ever played any of the Resident Evil games or saw the movie? I've seen the movies. The games, I've got Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D on my 3DS. I think I tried a Resident Evil game on a PS1 emulator a long time ago. I think I also tried Resident Evil 4 on the PC when I was a kid, but it wasn't playing well, and I think the controls, there was something weird going on with the controls, so I didn't play through much more of it. But no, I've not really played much Resident Evil games. I'm not really a horror game guy, to be honest with you. That's why The Last of Us to me seemed like a big risk to play. I was like, do I want to play this? Because I don't like horror games. Then I did play it and I loved it and I gave it a 10 out of 10. I was anticipating the second game, but then we all know what happened with the leaks that came out. It put me right off. Have you thought about making a versus video of the original Willy Wonka movie and Tim Burton's version? I thought of it, but I knew I wouldn't be able to get it done realistically, so I didn't do it. Scared Driffy, I could have sworn that you were Jess for a second. He says, Are you ready for the MCU, the Morbius Cinematic Universe? You excited? You guys and your Morbius memes. What did I do to you guys? That Morbius memes seem to be something that I keep getting nowadays. Keep them coming if you want, but it doesn't mean I still get surprised when I hear it from you. Jake says, I have to edit, write, and record my videos as well. Too bad they keep getting copyrighted. I'll try to get the copyrights removed once I get time, but it's such BS. It is. Here's my advice to you, Jake, because this is how I learned. What you want to do is you want to start off learning how to deal with copyright claims on shorter videos, like 5-minute long videos, or maybe 10-minute long, because when you have those problems, you're going to go in, you're going to change stuff to try to accommodate the copyright system. And when you do that, you're going to start to realize, alright, the copyright system likes it when I cut this. It doesn't like it when I cut this. Or if I cut this, it's then going to do 2 more copyright claims on this. Then you're going to realize, should I increase the volume of the music? Decrease the volume of the music? Should I even have the music in there at all? Because the music just keeps getting claimed, so should I put other music in the background there? You're also going to realize that the video clips cannot stay on. One video clip cannot stay on for too long. So I always do a rule for myself that the video clips I put in my videos can only be on there for like 10 seconds tops. Maybe 11 or 12 seconds in the very odd case, but every time you put video footage in there of the movie you're talking about or something, you gotta make sure that it's only there for a maximum of 10 seconds. Anything beyond that, it could get automatically claimed. So if you start chopping the clips up enough, they can't say, hey, you're keeping that clip on for too long. It's all soundless footage anyway, so. But yeah, that problem you just had, I had it with my Chicken Run 2 versus video yesterday. There was a scene in there where they go, eggs. Remember those those rats come up and they go, eggs, and then Ginger's like, eggs, and then he goes, right, just like the eggs that rooster promised us, because roosters don't lay eggs, do they? And then the other one's like, don't they? And he goes, no, it's a chicken thing, you know, ask your mum. That scene I put, it was only 10 seconds because it was related to what I was talking about, and guess what happened? It got copyright claimed. And it didn't even get copyright claim because of the clip. It got copyright claim because the music in the background was playing in that 10 seconds. And it got claimed because it said I was using music from the movie. I was like, that's stupid. So when something like that happens, it was a 10-second clip, by the way. So even 10 seconds can get claimed sometimes. So then what I had to do was say, alright, I had to get rid of the part when he goes, right, just like the ones those roosters promised us. I cut that out and just started with him going, roosters don't lay eggs, do they? You'll see when you see the final video. The reason I did that is because of the copyright claim. So you got to find smart ways to kind of like just deal with them. They're not good to have copyright claims, but it really does kind of piss you off when it happens, because you have an idea of the original video that you wanted to make, but then ultimately you have to make cuts to it. And in some cases it can be heartbreaking. I remember I spent, was it a 25-minute long video for the Lion King versus video? And the whole thing got claimed. I spent all night, 5-6 o'clock in the morning, trying to, like, you know, change up the video. Still got copyright claims. In the end, I realized it wants me to get rid of all the music that I spent so long putting in and sound mixing, and I couldn't do that. So I tried to find other music, but it just wasn't good enough because I made that video. I was proud of the way that video was made. And then what happened was I realized I put all that work and effort in. I'm not going to get any pay for it, even though I put in countless hours and like non-stop days and weeks into that video, and it got claimed. And that was a heartbreaking one to me. But there was a line in the show Suits, which I was watching at the time when the show was still coming out. Now it's already out and it's been doing like boffo numbers on Netflix. But back then it was still a new show when I was watching it, and there was a good line they had there where the character Harvey is concerned for his apprentice Mike, his protege. He was concerned that he's beaten him on a situation because they were on opposing sides, and he doesn't think he has what it takes to keep going, even though going is the harder choice. He thinks he'll just fold and just lose this case. And then his Harvey superior comes in, and she goes, he goes, I got him. Then she goes, you have? And then he goes, then why do I not? Then she goes, then why do you look then why don't you look happy about it? And then he goes, because I don't. Then he goes, because I don't think he has what it takes to keep going. And then she says, you don't think he has what it takes to cut off the arm to save the body? And then he goes, no, I don't think he does. So basically for me, that Lion King versus video, even though I put in like days, weeks of work into it and hours of sleepless nights trying to edit that one, because that was a passionate video I had and I had to spend so much time audio mixing it, I looked at that video as cutting off the arm to save the body, essentially. So I made nothing from it, but the video got over 100,000 views. It did so incredibly well. People loved it. And I got more subscribers from it. That's how I looked at it as. But that was a sad thing, that was. So yeah, that's not only happened to you, Jake. That is something that, trust me, it happens to even channels like me. I probably don't show it in other live streams, but there are a lot of times I go through copyright claims. And you just have to learn how to navigate them. The system, the YouTube copyright system, has gotten even more and more sensitive. It didn't always used to get that way. Like at the beginning, you could put music in the background, so long as you just made sure your voice overshadowed the music. But now you can't put studio music in there, so you got to use music covers and game music and all this other stuff, just to kind of like get around it. So that's what you need to really figure out, is that trick. That's why for me it does get easier, because I know the do's and don'ts. But even then, I still get claims. But that's my recommendation to you. Start with shorter videos, and it'll be easier to deal with those copyright issues. And by dealing with the copyright issues on smaller videos, you'll have a better understanding of how to get rid of the copyright issues on longer videos. So that's my best advice to you with regards to copyright claims. Jake says, by the way, did you hear about the Mousetrap horror movie? Yes, I did. The Mickey Mouse horror movie that they kind of did, like what they did with Winnie the Pooh, because it became public domain. Yeah, I have heard of that. I was going to do a trailer reaction on my Patreon. I still probably will. Yeah, I was just busy. But yeah, that is... Mickey Mouse came into the public domain, which is interesting, because in 10 years' time, Superman will be in the public domain. In 11 years' time, Batman will be in public domain. And I think in 12 years' time, maybe 13, then Wonder Woman is going to be in the public domain. So if Disney wanted to make a Batman movie, it's like technically they could at that point. It's freaking scary, that. What would they do? That's one of my worst nightmares, what they would do to a Batman movie. King K says, I have a YouTube channel, but it doesn't seem to be getting any recommendation. Can I ask for help? Well, he really says, can I ask for gelp? I can't give you any gelp, but I can give you some help. Yeah, King K is a YouTube channel who, if you guys want to show him your support, you can just click his name and head on over to his YouTube channel. So, yeah. Fraser says, hey Eric, if Cars is still your least favourite movie, then Cars 2 is on a whole other level for you, because Cars 2 is so bad I almost screamed out my window. Well, luckily I don't have to watch Cars 2. Although people at the time were saying to me, do Cars, when Cars 3 came out, do Cars 1, 2, and 3 versus video. And I was like, no, I'm not going to. Some questions seem to be coming in based on what I said about the copyright claims. Big Bash says, what have you the idea to make versus videos? The idea for me to make versus videos was actually my very first versus video. It was my Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events versus video. That was the first one I did, and I thought, let's do this. It could be an interesting new idea for versus videos, because I used to do technology reviews before that and smartphone reviews. And there was a channel on YouTube, a guy called SuperSaf TV. He's very big now, but he was growing quite rapidly back then, and he was doing versus videos with smartphones, even though he didn't have them. He just had like some images, Photoshop images of the phone on both sides of his screen, and then he would list all the specs below it, and then talk about which phone was better, which one wasn't. And he grew in popularity that way, and I was like, I've always wanted to do movie reviews, but I thought it was such a crowded and saturated market that I had no chance of contributing to. But I always wanted to do movie videos as my number one. Tech was number two. So I thought, alright, let's try to do a versus video of this new Netflix show coming out of A Series of Unfortunate Events and compare it to the movie. So I decided to make that video, and the video I did before that was a channel update, and I did a video where I talked about the Sherlock Season 4, where I reviewed Sherlock Season 4, I think it was. I also talked about Batman Return to Arkham for the PS4, where I reviewed the quality of the remaster for the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City games. And there was something else there as well that I did. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a tech review or something. I don't know. It was basically three reviews in one, basically. And I even teased that I've got a new show coming out, which I might make more show, which will open up the door for me to make more shows of. And I was referring to my Versus videos because I spent a month, I think. Was it a month on the Lemony Snicket Versus video? Because that was my first Versus video. I had to figure out the format, what my Versus videos were like. And if you go back to the first one, you'll notice that even the film roll I have, where I have story, characters, and all that stuff, it's in its early phase. I did some changes to it later. And yeah, took a long time to do, but that was my first ever Versus video, and then you had to find out ways of doing more of them in like a week, 2 weeks, you know. But yeah, that's where my Versus videos started, and they've kept going since. King of the Monsters 2021, can't you dispute the claims of copyrighted music? You can, but they take up to 30 days to respond, and in that time, the movie that I'm doing a Versus video on will be not relevant anymore. You want the video to be out there and then. And these companies will sometimes wait till the last second just to say no. So you'll be back on spots, you know, you'll be back on like square one essentially. So what you want to do is you want to put the copyright claim in, then go back to your editing room, and then just change the sound up and make an alternative that hopefully gets no copyright claims. And in that time, if they've removed the claim, great. If not, you've got this alternative. That's what I've also done. But now it's just not worth it. I just stay away from it, because I need to get these out on time. So yeah, I try to not do that anymore. But disputing it is just pathetic, though. YouTube system is so dated. It's just no help. So at this point, you just don't do it. I used to contact the studios before, and they used to remove the claims, but now they don't do it. Andres says, I hate how celebrities that make millions make a YouTube channel about their life and can get away with copyright system and get all the advertising, while people who put time and effort don't get crap. Yeah, it is very much the whole, you know, keep the rich people rich and the poor people poor. That does transcend over to the online platforms too, like YouTube, which is unfortunate. Because aren't we the ones that technically made YouTube what it is, when celebrities didn't even give a second thoughts to YouTube? Yeah. Topher Lloyd, what movie pissed you off the most? And I mean really pissed you off. One of those movies will also be in my top in my top worst movies of this year. You'll actually find out. The movie really did not put me in a good place, which is unfortunate because a lot of people liked it, but I was like, I just didn't like being in its space. The movie space, I didn't like being in it. It kind of made me feel claustrophobic, and I didn't like the approach they were taking with many things. So you can have guesses, but just wait until the video comes out, and then you'll find out what I think, you know, which one it actually is. Eric, I told you I had school. Why did you start without me? I'm not mad, just a tiny bit sad. Not every live stream. Thing is, if I could pick one time where I know all of you would be there, it's hard to do. You know, I would basically do that if I could, but it's hard to get a live stream where all of you are here at once. Like, you guys have noticed Adam Grunther hasn't showed up, so he's probably also busy. But that's why I always try to do Sundays, because Sundays I feel like there are bigger chances that you guys will show up. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think I tried to get all you guys in, but it's just hard. So I couldn't do it yesterday, so I had to do it today. As always, I'm sorry if you couldn't make the stream, but I always try to do one stream a week. So hopefully we'll have the next stream this Sunday again, where most of you will be, you know, free, and it'll be better. So yeah, I'm sorry, buddy, but I had to do the stream. But don't worry, you're still here, and I still plan on doing the stream for a good bit, so you're alright. Rohan said, hey Eric, sorry I'm late. What did I miss? You missed all the stories and some Q&A goodness, but don't worry, you can re-watch this stream. I'll put the time codes in later. And there'll be another stream this Sunday, hopefully, so... Big Bash, what made you want to make YouTube videos and start off your channel? It was just for fun back in the day. This is before YouTube allowed you to monetize. I used to make videos then. If you go back to my really early Versus videos, not my Versus videos, my really early videos, I was doing videos on Ben 10 for DS, Protector of Earth, you know, Ultimate Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. It was just fun stuff. It really was. And then it became one of those things where it's like, oh, you can actually make a career by expressing yourself and sharing your passions with people. And that's why I ended up making a YouTube channel where I was like, okay, I want to do more videos, then I want to do these videos, and I went through so many different styles. And ultimately, this is the one that I ended up sticking with and I really enjoy. Okay, we have, Jonah White. It says here, let's celebrate their 10th super on a live stream. So this is your 10th super chat on a live stream. That is, thank you very much, buddy. And again, for the $2 super chat. Let's write that down here. Thoughts and ranking of 5 Cobra Kai seasons. Well, I would say Cobra Kai season 1, I think, was the best. 2 was the one after that, maybe. I can't remember properly. I haven't seen them in a while. But 1 was really good because it reintroduced you to this world with a very clever and smart idea. Then I liked season 2. I liked 3. I think season 4 I didn't like very much. And then 5. So it's kind of in order. The stuff with Johnny and Daniel, I feel like keeps getting better and better. But the stuff with the kids keeps getting worse and worse. That's why the points for my show, it's like the show starts off with let's get it right on here. Starts off on a high, then it goes, so the first season first, then second season, then third season, and fourth season went down, like right the way down, and then season 5 went up again. So that's the order I put it in. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. That's my order of the seasons. Jake says, one of the worst movies I've seen is Biodome. Just looking at the poster is enough to make me pissed off. Never have I wanted to scoop a main duo's eyes out with a spoon than this movie. Oh yeah, I didn't answer that question, did I? But Cause was that movie for me, the one that I just hated. So yeah, it's probably Cause. But I'm sure there must be another one, I just can't think of it. What other one was there? Oh, London Has Fallen. I thought that movie, with the message that it was trying to do, was like, America, F yeah. If you know what goes on in the history and what America actually does in its history, I thought that was a very wrong message to put there. I thought they're trying to make it seem like one thing when really it's not. That was actually a bad message. And if anything, it was not a statement about the characters in the movie, which would have been fine, but it was more of a statement of those people in general. How did the line go? I think it was, you Muslims have been trying to kill us for years, and let me tell you something, we'll just keep on coming. And when you hear about all this stuff going on, like we're hearing about Gaza, but we also heard about Syria a long time ago where strikes were happening, it's like America is not squeaky clean here, and the way they're describing it, and there's even before the Muslims, there were other wars that they were doing as well. I just don't like when they try to say, yeah, we're the right ones, you're the wrong ones. It's like history would say otherwise, and I'm a Brit, and I would say the same thing about Britain as well. Like, do we have to talk about the East Indian Trading Company and a lot of the stuff they did? And how essentially they're putting their hands underneath America's butt, like, you know. So whenever any of these countries try to be all patriotic, I'm always like, your history says otherwise. So yeah, I think that was the movie. London Has Fallen. Even though I liked the first movie, I thought that was good. Pitch Perfect 1, 2, or 3. I've not seen any of the Pitch Perfect movies. Rohan says, how come the John Majors gets into jail, but Ezra Miller, Amber Heard got left off the hook? I said that in my last stream. But also, I will say it's weird how Jonathan Majors, they're trying to give him a comeback with the media. He came on a news interview today, which was just clearly a scene, like a PR stunt that Disney were trying to get him to do, because clearly he wouldn't want to be on a news report, I think, after that point, but they tried to put him in it. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm like, they didn't let Johnny Depp on the news at all. Johnny Depp wanted to tell his story, but they were always saying, no, you're not going to tell your story. Like, when they're not going to let you come on the news, but come on for an interview. But then Amber Heard, the day after when she lost, it's like, yeah, come in, we'll pay you. And now with Jonathan Majors they are, but why didn't they let Johnny Depp? And Johnny Depp was innocent. There's countless evidences proving that. So yeah, I don't like what these medias are doing. It's like they do it, even if it seems like it's good on the surface, I would always question it to my very core. Now, Let's see. Comic Book King. How would you feel if the actor who played Unicorn in Transformers Beast wasn't in Transformers Beast Wars voiced Kang, since he's planning on playing an MCU villain? I can't even remember the voice of Unicorn. I need to hear it again. That was a very forgettable movie, that Transformers film. And we also got Jake asking a question. What about Top Gun? Isn't that kind of patriotic? Still like the sequel a lot, though. I haven't seen the first movie, so I don't know about that. The second movie, it felt like it was smart in the sense that it didn't tell you who the enemy was. So it's like it was stepping on no one's toes. And the enemy, they didn't really have a name to him. It's like just the enemy, it kind of was. I think that movie did it tastefully. It did it well. It's like, yeah, if you want to add some of that patriotism there, I don't agree with it, but clearly there's people that seem to like it, and if Hollywood is a business, I can understand why they'd want to do it. So that's the better way of doing it, I think. That, at least. But it's interesting how Oppenheimer won a bunch of Golden Globes and is most likely going to win a bunch of Oscars because Hollywood really seems to like the whole atomic bomb story. But meanwhile, they're dropping a bunch of their atomic bombs. They're funding people that are dropping a bunch of atomic bombs on other countries, and that they say to people, if you speak out against, we're gonna fire you and get you to apologize and get embarrass you, humiliate you publicly. But at the same time, we appreciate the movie that is talking about the problems with and the sin essentially of nuclear explosions. Hollywood is such a walking hypocrite of itself. It supports that and talking about the damage that nuclear explosions could do, so that's why Oppenheimer for them is a movie that they really want to get behind, and they want to give it all these nominations and these awards. But in real life, they've paid towards assisting in helping countries bomb other countries. It's like, oh man, it's like, it really hurts your head when you think about how could you be preaching this, but then you go ahead and do this. Actions speak louder than words, and movies are just words at the end of the day. And yeah, just full of hypocrisy. But that's the end of the Eric being political for today. Topher Lloyd says, what do you think of Big Hero 6? I did like that movie. It felt like an Iron Giant type of rip-offy movie, but I still enjoyed it. King K says, I just made a YouTube video of Miles Morales vs. Spider-Man. Check it out if you can. It's only a short. Okay, cool. Let me go to your channel, King K, and I will watch it later, after the stream. I've got it loaded up, your channel here. Alright. Did you ever watch Titans, and if so, what score did you give it? The first season I did, I think I gave it a 7 or an 8. I think it's a 7. Second season was just rubbish and crap, and then it was so crap I didn't even watch season 3. And the ending of season 2, when a character dies, that was one of the most embarrassing deaths I've ever seen in my life. Spirit Hero says it best. America is really something, isn't it? Yep, it sure is. George Phillips says, have you kept your PS4 even though you have a PS5? The PS5 I had on loan, so I didn't have it for too long. I had it for about a month, and then I gave it back. So I don't have a PS5 anymore. I still have my PS4, and I did just recently connect it back so I could try remote play out on my Steam Deck. And it's not great because you need a very good internet connection, and I don't think the PS4, the architecture inside of it, I don't think it has as fast a Wi-Fi chip in it as some of the other more modern day consoles like the PS5. So it's good, but it's not great, playing remote play on it. Got a $1 super chat from Ian Choi. Thank you very much for the super chat, bud. Let's see. What question have you got? As always, guys, any donations would always help, and they're always appreciated. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Good to see you after school. Ian Choi is also King of the Monsters 2021. That's what it says here. So, hi, Eric. Good to see you after school. I didn't want to make this political, but as much as I want Palestine to survive, Hamas still attacked Israel out of malevolence. I think both governments are in the wrong, and I just feel bad for the civilians. But that's the thing, though. They start out by saying it's October the 7th, but it didn't start October the 7th. It's been going on for decades and decades. So it's one of those things where people have questioned this about America. They said, would ISIS have even been a thing if America just pulled out and they just didn't like people have actually said that America feel like they just keep on staying and occupying to the point where it's like they're creating these other groups. It's almost like what you would say with Batman. You know, like Batman kind of comes, but he creates his own villains, which is where the anti-hero part of Batman comes in, because everyone knows that's not a good thing. Batman makes things worse. If you take that and apply it to real life, it's the same thing here. Are they just making things worse because they just keep pushing the buttons of all these people, and they don't care how many innocent people they get hurt, killed in the process? So it's the same thing with Hamas. It's like, was it an attack like that, or was this because they were fighting back? So if they did not keep bombing them over the decades, would this have even happened? Would there even be a Hamas? That's the kind of thing. They always, if you watch these interviewers, they try to do something sleazy. They try to say, like Piers Morgan and stuff, they'll say, let's go back to October 7th. It's like, that's what they always try to do. There are even books that, believe it or not, I'm not kidding with this, there are even books that Zionists and Israels have got where basically it says how to stop a conversation. So if a conversation is getting, if you're losing a conversation, basically all you got to do is this. Let's go back to October 7th. Oh, I'm not here to talk about that. Let's talk about this. This one has practically become a meme when they keep saying, do you condemn Hamas and all that? Like, that's practically become a meme at this point. It's not, this is the last I'll say of it. Because like what you said, Ian Joy, I'm not trying to be political on this stream. It's supposed to be a fun stream. But you can tell when they're trying to play semantics with conversations and they're not trying to answer them head on. Heck, you can look at the people that are committing all these acts of terrorism, and you can tell they're trying very hard not to lie, but they even smile in the interview, like and some even straight out say what they're doing. So yeah, basically, I think that one side instigated it. It's like it could have stopped, but you kept making it get worse and worse, and now look what's happening, and you're saying we have to fight, even though fighting got you there in the first place. It's a bit, I can go into this in greater detail, but let's go back to having fun on the stream, not trying to make this political. Hope you got your $1 donation worth there with that. I gave you a lot of more talking points. Anyway, let's see. Orangutan says, hey Eric, I have a blood test tomorrow. Is there any advice? Yeah, I love bloody movies, but I'm not good. I'm quite squeamish when it comes to seeing blood in real life. So I don't know where your blood test is. Is it going to be on your arm where they get some blood out of the vein? Just don't look at it. That's what I do. I just don't look at it. Some people can. They say they look at it as it comes out. I don't know what it is with the texture of blood in real life, but it just really makes me squeamish, makes my whole body kind of jerk. But the reason why I really don't like looking at needles, like when you're getting a blood test, is because my first experience was horrendous. The nurse that came, she was new, and I had eczema, so they had to get a blood test on me, but she couldn't really visibly see the vein, so she put the needle in, and she was holding it like this, not like how they normally do when they just do like this, and then they pull the thing. She would just put it in like this, and she said, no blood's coming out, I can't find the vein. And then she moved it around in my arm, and I could feel that. That first experience, it's never left me. And I just don't like it when that needle goes in because of that. Otherwise, I think I probably could have been fine with it, because she went to her superior afterwards, and this nurse, she came in, and she was like, yeah, you can't see it. So instead, she felt for it, and she's like, okay, I think it might be here. And then she did it, and it was far better. But the other one, putting it in and then just moving it around while the needle was still in there, that was so unpleasant. That was really unpleasant. And then I think I had to go to work right after as well. And my work at the time was at a desk job. And I remember my one arm felt like it had just lost all the life in its, like all the energy in it. So yeah, that was unpleasant. Very unpleasant. So long as you don't have a nurse like that, you should be feeling a lot better. And so long as you don't have eczema on you covering the vein, they can see the vein. Trust me, it'll be it'll be fine. It goes in, you feel the burn for about 2 seconds, it comes out, and then you feel the burn like dissipate over the next 2-3 seconds, and it goes. Just don't get yourself worked up by that needle. Trust me when I say it's not as painful as it looks when you look at that needle. That needle makes your mind run amok. It's not that bad. Especially if you have a good nurse on your hands too. Oh, I'm just looking at you guys reacting to this. I say, Topher Lloyd goes, ow. Jacob says, "Oh my god." Jess says, "Hey Eric, I'm back. Just wanted to stay for the last hour because I had nothing else to do." Yeah, that's no problem. The Englishman says, where did you go? Where did you go? Where is it? Oh, there. Sometimes it just scrolls the chat all the way down like a jump cut, and I got to scroll back up. The English Scotsman says, "You must have really hated sitting through Saw 2 then, Eric." Not really. I mean, maybe if they went in close with the camera and showed that. There was definitely a syringe scene, but I'm alright. That was more of from a distance. If they went in close and tried to show it done, maybe then I would maybe a little feel something. But there's just something about movies. I can just tell what the real thing is and what the fake thing is. I think Evil Dead 1, Sam Raimi's first Evil Dead movie, has the most realistic looking blood I've ever seen in a movie. And that was the day I decided to go get some food and bring it back and watch the film. But luckily there was no blood for a while. But that's the most convincing looking blood I've seen in a movie. Orangutan says, "How old were you when that happened?" I might have been 17, 18, I think. Big Bash says, "I hope that nurse was fired." It was not good. When I told my parents when I came back what happened, they were like, they were shocked, that actually happened. You're Tearing Me Apart says, "I found a used copy of Mario Kart 7 in a local game store. Should I pick it up?" Well, how much did it cost? Was it cheap? Was it brand new? Was it secondhand? I have Mario Kart 7 on my 3DS back there. Lenny Williams, "Am I a bad person for thinking that Randall deserved to die in Joker?" Not really. That movie, that's what the movie does. It kind of like just messes with you. But that's the whole appeal of movies. In real life, if someone in movies, here's the thing: people like to say that, oh, you're crazy for wanting that person to die. But in a movie, there's someone could just yell at someone else, and you'd say, yeah, kill him. In real life, you know that's not what you would say. There's a distinct difference. One movie is rigged to make it out like you want characters to die, and then you have real life where you know there are real consequences to actions. Movies have no consequences, so it's like games. You can just go on a free roam on GTA and kill anyone you wanna. In real life, you wouldn't do that. That's the whole point of movies and games. There's no consequences, and you can see things that you normally wouldn't see in real life. That's a kind of appealing to see something that you wouldn't normally see, and from a certain perspective and viewing angle, where the cinematographer and the camera, is placed. That's the appeal. Don't let people... There was a conversation where it meant, what does this say about people? It doesn't say anything. If people say they want that in real life, it'll say something about them, but they're not saying that. So no, it's fine. The movies and games are kind of rigged in that way to where they want you to do that kind of thing. Jake says, "It hasn't been flagged for copyright. Hope I don't jinx that." Yep, now you're thinking the way I think when I do this stuff. It's like, okay, I made the changes. It didn't get flagged for copyright. Let's hope it doesn't. Another advice I'd give you, Jake, this is a very important thing. I should have said it to you earlier, but I forgot. Just because they don't copyright claim it immediately doesn't mean they won't copyright claim it in the next 5 minutes or maybe even an hour or maybe even the next day. They still can put those copyright claims there. So just because it says that there's no copyright strike on it, even though YouTube have run their checks on it, its claim can still very much automatically come on it. So that's always a downside on it. And that has happened to me before several times. So keep that in mind. What I would advise you to do is when the video is up and you've checked it, upload it as unlisted and see how it does for the next day. And if it does good, you've got a better chance of it doing good, basically, when you publish the final version. But my videos, I always export several early versions of it before I get the final version. And those are the ones that I normally do all my testing with, and I publish unlisted before my final one goes up, and usually that one stands a better chance because I've done all my checks prior and ahead of time. Jess says, "I feel bad for you, Eric." This is referring to the needle going in, yeah. Big Bash says, "I look at shots without issue." Yeah, some people just can. My dad can. I think, did my sister? Could she? I can't remember. But yeah, it's funny because my sister doesn't like to see blood in movies very much, but when it comes to... But I can handle those and I don't mind, but when it comes to the injections, that's where she can look, but I can't. It's like a reverse, that is. How do you like to write a feature film screenplay for me? I'm not that kind. I can review something, look back and give notes, but I'm not the kind that could write something. Unless maybe I have a real passion for it, but right now I've not got any of those stories. Jacob says, when is Spider-Man PS4 versus Spider-Man 2? A while. Maybe next month. In the clip of the King says, King K, in the clip of the villain of Morbius dancing, the music was saying, have sex, have sex. It's telling you what you should do instead of watch Morbius. Yeah, that's kind of funny, isn't it? Batman's Gamer says a needle isn't that bad. Yeah, it isn't, so don't worry about it, bud. Tanner says, will you make a video on Aquaman 2 versus Black Panther 2? No, I won't. I was going to make Aquaman 1 versus Aquaman 2, but I didn't go through with it. Because, yeah, I just didn't have time to do it, basically. So that's why I had to do this other stuff. And imagine if I was making Aquaman 1 versus Aquaman 2. The Chicken Run versus video wouldn't be where it is, and it would take even longer for the top 5 and best and worst movies to come out. So it was a good call not doing the Aquaman versus. And most people are not really looking into Aquaman reviews, so I don't even think it would have got much views or mileage, to be honest. You're Tearing Me Apart says, I had the exact same experience as you with a nurse. It wasn't fun, to say the least. Yeah, that was not nice. Jake says, this is why Happy Death Day is actually kind of a smart movie. Shows you that a lot of humor movies show you the nasty side of a person, but leave out any backstory or understanding they might have. Yeah, exactly. It basically tells you that context matters. Rohan says, the only 2023 movies that made about billions of dollars were the Super Mario Brothers movie and Barbie live action. Yeah. Which is interesting, isn't it? No Disney movie this year. Sorry, Eric, I have to leave the stream. I'll come on in the next live stream. That's okay, King K. You stuck around for a long time. How long have we been doing the stream? 2 hours, 20 minutes. So you've stuck around for a long time. So, yeah, take care. It was very good seeing you again. The movie King 3000. Are you going to watch Echo when it comes out? Yes. Only because it's 5 episodes. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. And I'm thinking of doing a Let's Binge Watch episode with it. Matthew says, I feel like you could make a movie. Why don't you with all that YouTube revenue? That YouTube revenue is not enough to make a movie with. Yeah, I'm still trying to grow my revenue because, like I said, the January and February is always very difficult as a YouTuber to make revenue with because that's where the advertisers, they went all in December for Christmas and then they pull out on January and February. So you get less revenue as a YouTuber. So, yeah, that's why I say your donations, they always really do help a great deal. So do the patrons stuff that you do, because YouTube in January and February is really not that good. That's why people take off their holidays in January and February, but I'm still going to be giving you guys content as much as I can. Jake says, Chicken Run is called Free Birds in some countries. Is that a reference to the song? I don't know. Is that what it translates to from their language to English? But Free Birds does kind of make sense because it is essentially a concentration camp movie with chickens, like War for the Planet of the Apes is with apes. I actually wrote that in my script originally, but I took it out. It just didn't flow very well, that little observation. But that was an observation originally I wrote in my script for the Chicken Run Versus video. Shannon Moore says, what do you think of Breaking Bad? I liked Breaking Bad, but the pacing kept going up and down, which is the one thing I didn't like about it, and it was a big thing I didn't like about it. Scared Driffy says, I heard Morbius 69, Attack of the Morbs, has Andrew Garfield kill Vulture and become Venom. That is a bizarre... I don't know if you're joking or what. Morbius 69? What is that? I know what 69 also means, but I don't think that's what you're trying to do there. At least I don't know. Eric, what was your experience with a nurse? I missed a few minutes and I'm hearing something about it. My experience was one of the people in the chat were asking a question about I've got a blood test, any advice? And I gave him a bunch of advice, and I also gave him one story. I said, so long as you have a nurse that was better than mine, because the first time I had a blood test, I have eczema on my arm, so she couldn't see the vein, so she was a new nurse, clearly, and she put the needle in. And she's like, I don't think any blood's coming out of that. Like, she couldn't find, I don't think we hit the vein. and then she just went like this, like just like turned it, rotated it as the needle was still in my arm, and I felt that, I did. And then she pulled it out, and I was thinking, please don't do another one. That was horrible. That was really horrible. And then she asked her superior to come in, and her superior tried to feel for the vein, and then she found it on her first go. So I said, so long as you don't have a bad nurse like that, because that was painful, and that has ever since, that was my first experience, and first impressions and first experiences matter, because that has stuck with me every other time I've gotten blood tests, and I just kind of cringe when I think about that. Even you guys are like Topher is like, again, ow. You're tearing me apart says, I think I should probably change my username. This is getting ridiculous. It was ridiculous a long time ago, but I feel like I've made my peace with it now. I just call you, you're tearing me apart. Rolls off the tongue fine. Jess says, Eric, that needle must have given you so much pain, and I feel sorry for you. Yeah, everyone I tell that story to, they all seem to feel sorry for me with it. It's come and it's gone, but yeah, that was something which I will always remember. Let's see. And yes, I remember it did hurt. I didn't say anything out loud because I was thinking, I didn't know what the process was. I actually, believe it or not, I didn't even look at the needle when she was doing it. I could just feel it. I could just feel that, what the hell is going on? Like, the needle goes in straight. But then all of a sudden, I just felt like a rotating action going on. And I think I did look for a split second before she pulled it out. I was like, I saw a bit of the rotate, and I was like, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Adam Grunther says, I missed a lot of, but I'll just say, while the Ayer Cut probably would have been better than the actual movie, I still don't think it would have been very good, going by the images of Leto alone. I agree. I don't know if you saw Adam Grunther. By the way, it's great to see you back. People in the chat have been mentioning you on like saying, where is Adam Grunther? It's great. So it's great to see you join the chat. I agree with you, but there was also some stuff which was rather intriguing. Like, I think David Ayer, didn't he post something on his Twitter a long time ago, black and white footage of when Joker rescues Harley from the Suicide Squad, and he was mad at her. In the official movie, he was happy, and he was like saying, it's great to have you back, let's go have some, private time, essentially. But in the version that David Ayer put out, there was actually like a much more like angry Joker talking to her, like he was ready to kind of like let her have it. So I am curious what would have happened, but yeah, it is a shame that it's not. I would say it is a shame it's not happening, because first of all, I would have made another versus video out of it. It would have been like, and I really enjoyed that Zack Snyder's Justice League versus video I made. And also, it's just fun I did enjoy the exercise of comparing Zack Snyder's Justice League with the theatrical version. It's kind of like seeing what happens when a studio comes in and wants a lot of reshoots, and what happens with the original movie when the director actually has a passion for storytelling. I find that very fun, that comparison. So, yeah. I would have liked it if they had brought it in. But yes, I don't think it would have been great. I don't think it would have been as big a jump as, say, Zack Snyder's Justice League was. But I don't know for sure. That's just speculation at this point. Jess says he's now Adam Grunther's best friend. That's nice. I like when all of you guys get along in the chat. No says, oh my god, Captain Eric, what if Marvel brings Joss Whedon back to direct Avengers 5 and 6? I would completely give up on the MCU. Nah, he's not coming back to the MCU. They're not going to bring him back, are they? Jake says, by the way, rumor has it that Mickey and Minnie Mouse have a hidden sex tape. Jeez is right. Jeez, I think there's no other word you can say other than jeez. The Movie King 3000 says, just watched Planet of the Apes trilogy, and I have to say that it is awesome. The third being the best to me, which is why I'm skeptical about the fourth. Me too. I'm skeptical as well, although the second one was my favourite. But yeah, I'm very skeptical as well. I really am. Batman's Gamer says, lady, especially because Disney is doing it, I don't ever trust Disney, especially with franchises. They've been destroying franchises in Disney, destroying franchises in Pixar, in Lucasfilm, and Marvel. Now they got Fox, and I think they're going to screw up those franchises too. They already kind of did with Quicksilver in WandaVision. I mean, that was bloody pathetic. That was. Let's quickly answer this question. Batman's Gamer. Announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to announce our next bad Spider-Man spin-off trilogy. As a thanks for your support to the Venom movies, we announce Morbius will have a trilogy as well. Wait, it will? No one told me that. That is a scary thing to have a Morbius trilogy. Thank goodness you're just joking. I know you're joking. I believe you're joking. You must be joking. Someone's done a super chat through Streamlabs. Thank you very, very much. It's a $1 Streamlab super chat. Like I say, your donations really do help, especially with the new months. The new year months, because those are bad for AdSense revenue, but I really do appreciate the support. The question is, from Patrick Style, how would you rank all the Arkham and Insomniac Spider-Man games all together? Wow, rank them all together. Let's see. Batman Arkham City, Batman Arkham Asylum, Spider-Man 1 for PS... No, that's not right, actually. That order, because I'm forgetting. There's the Miles Morales game as well. There's this. I had an order in my head, but I got it wrong. All of it. And Spider-Man 2 I really liked. And Spider-Man 2 is not even over yet. They're still going to be releasing new DLC packs. Right? I can't answer that yet. It's unfinished. So I can't say. So, yeah. But let's see. I want to answer part of your question. I can't give you the Insomniac one because I'm still doing the Versus video on it. I can't give you my answer on that yet. But I will say, of the two, which if I preferred which franchise, I'll tell you that. Of the two franchises, which one I prefer the Batman Arkham franchise. I'll tell you that, because I'm working on that very next Versus video, so I can't tell you that. Jake says, by the way, look up the Steamboat Willie public domain bumper on Adult Swim. You want me to look up Steamboat Willie public domain bumper? I have a feeling I'm going to be afraid to look into whatever that is, but let's hope it's not as bad as I think it's going to be. Oh! It's not that Steamboat Willie. Okay. 12 minutes ago. Wow. I heard this was not going to be in the public domain is what I heard. Uh-oh. Public domain. Oh my god. That is not good. Because Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, they're owned by Warner Brothers, aren't they? And Warner Brothers, guess what's going to come in their public domain in about 10 years? Superman, then the year after that, it'll be Batman, and then a year after that, it'll be Wonder Woman. So if they're taking a shot at Disney like this, what do you want to bet? Disney are going to be like, alright, fine, we'll start to use your characters. Yeah, I'm just looking at Steamboat Willie humping the public domain bitch text. Well, thank you very much for giving me that to look at, Jake. That was quite something. One person in the chat once gave me something really gross to look at and I didn't even expect it. So I kind of, when you sent me that, I was thinking, is this going to be something else like that? Thank goodness it is not. Okay, let's see. Did someone do a super chat? Yes, Adam Grundra has done a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. I really appreciate it. I wanted to make a counter-argument to your statement of there being no great DC movie villains. Zod from Superman 2. Oh yeah, very good. He's the reason Zod's so famous. I do agree. That's not what I meant, though, but that was an oversight, I think, on my part, because I did mention that DC's got some great TV show villains, like Lex Luthor from Smallville, Lionel Luthor, who was a villain, then turned good guy, then anti-hero. Yeah, he was really good as well. There's been a lot of great villains, and The Flash had great villains at the beginning as well, before they started turning crap. And even Arrow, before they turned crap as well. There have been very good villains, and I do agree. Zod in Superman 2 was also very good. I meant DCEU villains, because you were asking me questions about DCEU villains, and those were the ones that I was not certain about. But yeah, DC have got many great villains. Even if you look at the animated show, you know, like Batman animated series as well. You had Clayface in there, was a great villain. You had Baby Doll, who was a great villain. There's like so much more obscure villains there who are great villains. So yeah, DC has tons of great villains. It's just in the DCEU, I would say, they didn't really have like obvious picks. And thanks again for the super chat. Like I said, these always help. To me, Big Bash says, to me, Zod in Man of Steel was fantastic. The movie was incredible in my book. Yeah, I thought the movie was okay, personally. And I thought Zod could have been better. But, yeah, if you like it, that's great. I can see why people would like it, and I can see why people would hate it, and I can also see why people would just be in the middle of the road with it, like I am. Which movie do you prefer, The Batman or Logan? Rohan, that is a very good question. Oh, Logan has like ties to my childhood though, because people talk about Iron Man being the character that kids have grown up with, but I would say even before Iron Man, I grew up with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and I'm gonna say the Batman. I love Logan, I really do. No. Yeah, I'll say the Batman, because I love Logan, but Batman and Wolverine, but Batman is just my favourite character of all time. And Batman, I feel like, just overall, if I was just to break it down from each individual aspect, I think Batman would win in the versus battle, essentially. And we got another $2 super chat from Adam Grunther. Who says, do you prefer Hamill or Ledger's Joker? I prefer Mark Hamill, but not every time. If you were to compare him with the animated series, I prefer Ledger's Joker. But if you compare him to, say, the Arkham games, where he's essentially playing a very adult version of the animated series Joker, then I prefer that one. So yeah, but they're both amazing Jokers. They really are. Also, he was presenting one of the Golden Globes, Mark Hamill was, and I commented on that video and said behind it, is that 2 Jokers right there? Because in the blurred behind him, you could see 3 people sitting on a table, or 4 people sitting on a table. And of the 3 people that were there was Nicolas Cage, because, you know, he would have been Superman. But there was also Jared Leto and Joaquin Phoenix. And I put a comment down there where I basically pointed that out. And some people, rightfully so, were saying to me, yeah, you're right, wow. But there's also Mark Hamill, so that makes 3 Jokers, not just 2. I was referring to live-action Jokers. And then they said, and also next to Superman as well, technically. You know, there would have been Superman. So, yeah, that was a little interesting thing. Jess says Logan should get a sequel. No, it shouldn't. Logan was great, and it was an end. That was part of the reason why it was so great. It had a definitive ending. And that's what Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, they both did say about Deadpool 3. They didn't say much, but they said it's not going to mess with that ending. They're going to keep the ending the way it is, which is great. Because if it was up to Kevin Feige or something, they'd say resurrect him, or find a way to bring him back, or some nonsense, because they go for the cheap stuff in that way. And they also said in an interview recently, Kevin Feige said, we're not going to ruin Robert Downey Jr.'s death that we spent so many years building up to and working up towards. But you know that is just him trying to say damage control, because the conversations have happened on the inside that they were saying, shall we bring the original Avengers back? So I'm sure they would have tried to do something. How much footage of the Ayer Cut has actually surfaced? Not much, I don't think. Very little. Zack Snyder had the archives, but David Ayer didn't. So he wasn't able to, have access to them in that way. So, yeah. Which is kind of a shame. Would have been cool if he could. Adam Grunther says, I wouldn't have minded if they continued Laura's story after Logan. I agree. Her and the rest of the kids, because they're meant to be the next generation. They could have called that The New Mutants and done that as a film, and I would have seen it. Or they would have called how would you call Laura in a movie? Because you can call a movie like The Wolverine, Logan, but then do you just call her the movie Laura, or do you call it X-24? Does X-24 sound good as a title on a movie name? Because you never have them call Wolverine X-23. They call him by Wolverine or Logan. Those are actual movie titles, but there's a reason they never call him X-23 in the title. I wonder if she would have had a name. King K says, I am King K's brother. I went on his computer while he is out. Okay. Hope your brother has given you permission for that. Batman's Gamer says X-24 sounds better. It sounds better than X-23, yeah. Jess says, Eric, have you listened to Shantu Khan Bollywood musics? Do you mean Shah Rukh Khan Bollywood musics? Yes, I have. I grew up with them in the family. So I never was exposed to it myself, but the members of the family did, and my aunts did, I remember. And that is how you kind of grew up with it. And I think from that, my parents liked the songs. And, you know, back then they used to exchange CDs. And I think they played it in the car. And yeah, I grew up with a lot of his movies, but we didn't watch a lot of Bollywood movies, just his, mainly. And a couple from Amitabh Bachchan, he was also cool as well. But that was really about it. I got a $5 super chat from Adam Grunther again. Thank you very much again for the other super chat, Adam. I appreciate it very much. Which Peacemaker villain did you like more, the Butterflies or his father? I liked his father. His father would get really hard to listen to at points because he would say some real vile stuff to his son. It's like no father should say something like that, the stuff that he said. But yeah, I liked the father more. The father was very... I liked what they did with his arc. My only thing is I kind of wish they had a bit more money. I like that they fought in the middle of the road or the forest, but I feel like this environment, if there's one thing... I'm not saying it's bad, but if there's one thing that I could have said, could they have done it better? The environment that they're in, I feel like it could have been a way where they could have done that better. You know, just the scenery they're in and the environment. But I liked it a lot. The only thing I didn't like was Vigilante saying, "Dude, what's going on with your face? Are you doing face exercises again?" I think a more quiet approach there would have been better than a jokey approach, and it would have actually made me cry. I was actually on the verge, like close, but the joke just started and there was no crying there. That's what I hope James Gunn grows up and learns from, because it just really didn't work. If it was all visually conveyed from Vigilante, that he thinks like a smiling face, like, "Dude, are you joking?" And then he's like, "No, you're not." And then he goes down on his own and like just puts his hand over his shoulder, something like that. It doesn't mean it has to be just like that, but something like that, as opposed to Goofy talking on top of genuine crying from John Cena. Kind of ruined a good scene. That was an MCU joke to me. The movie didn't have many MCU jokes, or the show didn't have many MCU jokes, but that was one prime one that I think about. Jake says, by the way, I have to go now. Going to dinner. See you later. Thanks very much for dropping by. It was so good to see you on another live stream. Enjoy your dinner. I'm going to have dinner after this live stream myself as well. Take care, bud. Really appreciate it that you dropped by. Orangutan. Hey, Eric, have you ever considered doing political commentary videos only like a video about Ukraine war or Inflam or election stuff? Because you seem really educated what you talk about. That's because you need to be educated. There's a lot of people, and I don't like it when people do this. It's like they don't know what they're talking about, and you can tell they don't know. And then there's some people that convince you that they think they know, when really they're not. They're just biased, and they're coming up with any excuse they can just to kind of like get their point across. I have done videos like that. I remember doing it with my Let's Binge Watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I got very passionate and a little angry at Disney for what they did when they filmed Mulan next to a Muslim concentration camp, which just makes you think, these poor Muslims, that they're just left and right getting all this kind of abuse, aren't they? But we said that they were being Uyghur Muslims were in China in concentration camps. That is still happening. It's not stopped. But you just don't have people recording those with cameras there, do you? But now you have Israel doing the same thing to the Muslims in Palestine. With even children, they're doing it too. It's just... having them butt naked is like, this is just sad to think about. That's why I don't want to talk about it too much right now. There's streams where you can talk about that, like when I talked about Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera's firing, or Jenna Ortega's leaving, quitting, and Melissa Barrera's firing. But yeah. I don't think I will. I'll do it occasionally when I feel like it's warranted, but not every time. You don't want to do politics every time. My channel is meant to be a fun place, not a political place. So you got to try to make sure you balance it, or you do it at the right amount, because you don't want to turn people off. But just enough to know that you're politically minded and you are aware of this stuff, and you're not just giving thumbs up to everything, because I don't like content creators that just act quiet and say, you should still watch that movie. You shouldn't care if they, like, some people are saying Spyglass, just because they fired Melissa Barrera doesn't mean you should boycott their other movies. It's like, well, given what they fired her for, which she was doing, she was in the right, she was standing up for people that needed she was standing up against an injustice, and they fired her for that. Yeah, that warrants a boycott. Even Starbucks is starting to try to backpedal now, because a lot of people have boycotted them. But yeah. You're Tearing Me Apart says, in a Tommy Wiseau voice, okay, Eric, I go now. I'm very busy tomorrow. Nice being here. Ha 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 ha. Okay, he didn't say that. I added that. Goodbye, You're Tearing Me Apart. Good. Always good to see you on the live streams. Let's see, what chats? A lot of people asking questions. Tanner says, who do you prefer, Zack Snyder Justice League versus the other 4 Avengers movies, and did you watch Loki Season 2? I have not seen Loki Season 2, and I cannot answer this question because one day I do intend to do a Zack Snyder's Justice League versus Avengers Infinity War or something like that. One day. And I'll just be giving you the answer here. So, yeah. Big Bash says, as a Muslim, I greatly respect you, Eric. Oh, well, thank you very much. I didn't even know you were a Muslim, actually, until just now, but no, there should be, I feel like there should be better accountability out there. They always point the finger at the Muslims when I was growing up. You'd always hear it outside, at work, school, whatever, but when you get older, and you start to brush up on stuff, and the internet has been like a big help, you start to realize what's really going on, especially when you look into the history of things. Jesse Susan, this looks like it could be a potential. Are you a new subscriber? Because I don't think I've ever seen you on my live streams before. Expectations for the Kang Dynasty. I don't have any expectations for the Kang Dynasty. I think it's just going to be bad. I just think it's going to be. I don't even know if it'll be bad, straight up bad, but I know it's going to be a mess, at least right now, given what Marvel are trying to do. They're not in a good place. They need to really get their shit together, and they need to come up with like a very solid script before they go into production, because their methodology of working and making these movies lately over the last few years has been start shooting with a script, even if it's a half-assed script or unfinished script, do rewrites on set, edit the movie together. If it doesn't work, do reshoots, and then do more reshoots. If it's still not good, delay the movie for later in the year, do more reshoots in that time, and then release the movie, and you'll still end up with the Marvels. It's like, that's what you get. And the same with the Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania. They keep doing this with the reshoots, and it's not working for them. They need to put some actual effort into it, and I feel like they're not putting effort into it. That's where we're at right now. Jess says, I'm glad that I found your channel, Eric, because I trust you more than other YouTubers. Oh, thanks very much. No says, it's very hard to find any good content and any good YouTubers these days. Captain Eric and 5 other YouTubers are the only YouTubers I can keep watching. Well, I'm glad I'm glad I could be of that list. I really appreciate that. Really privileged. King K says, don't tell my brother. So you are on his computer without him knowing. You're his 8-year-old brother. Well, I'm sorry to say that if he does rewatch this video, he will find out now. Because you've ratted yourself out here. Now, it's good to know you both watch me. I didn't know that. You're Tearing Me Apart says, that's a really good impression. I'm impressed. Good night. Let's see. Jess says, Eric, I give you a 10 out of 10 for being the only YouTuber that I trust, and you are now my favorite. Thanks, I really appreciate these kind words. You give me so many of them. And I know you've been chatting to me a lot on Patreon. Apologies for late responses, but like I said, I've just been swamped like crazy. I'm still finishing off the Chicken Run Versus video. I've been writing the script for my top 5 best and worst videos, and I've also been getting preparing for this live stream, and also preparing for other stuff I've got coming up as well, other videos like Echo, which I'm gonna have to see. So I have to kind of set the stage for things like that. So that's why it's been taking me a long time to respond to you. Adam Grunther, a $2 super chat. Let me write that down. Adam Grunther says, what are your thoughts on Lionel Luthor? The only Lionel Luthor I know is from Smallville. I think he was in the comics. But I don't know about anything about him there. He was bloody amazing, man. Like, seriously, like, Lionel is a character where you see how Lex became what he is. And when you watch those terrific flashback episodes, was it called Memoria in Season 3? That is one of the best character development scenes of a villain I have ever seen in my life. There was unfortunately a deleted scene in there as well, where Lex makes a wish, blows his candles and makes a wish to his father, and he goes, makes a wish. What was the wish? He goes, I wish I don't ever have to go to boarding school. Then he blows on the candles, and then his father's like, well, wish granted. And then he hugs his father. It shows how close they were back then, versus what we've been seeing in the 3 seasons, where they're just so at odds, and Lionel doesn't even care if Lex dies. So yeah, it's like, that's some really good character development. And then when you see where they are now and the tragedy behind it, how it's a misconception, like, seriously, this is some top tier writing. Smallville would honestly get quite, like, at times hit and miss, like it would be Freak of the Week, but they always did very good character arcs in that show. If you felt the characters were growing. And Lex, he is one of my favorite villains of all time. He is right up there, and so is Lionel. And yeah, it was bloody amazing. It really was terrific. So my thoughts on Lionel Luthor, he's one of the best villains. That without him, I can't imagine the character of Lex Luthor being as good on that show as he was. So yeah. And also, you couldn't know if you could trust him or not, which was always fun. When he was bad, you thought, no, he's probably being genuinely good here. Then you would never suspect what he would do. Then when he was being good, he would do some really bad things, and you just didn't know whether you could trust him or not. Matthew says, what happened to your 3-minute reviews? That was a show I tried to start to get my channel going. It didn't really build me much of an audience, so I had to cancel the show. But my Versus video shows are the ones that have really taken off, so I continue doing it. Adam Grunther says, yes, I was referring to the Lionel Luthor from Smallville. Yeah, what do you think of Lionel Luthor from Smallville, Adam Grunther? Do you really like him as well? Because I don't feel like people talk about those villains in Smallville as much as they should. They are bloody amazing. Lex and Lionel in particular, who I'm talking about. Eric, how come you don't usually make videos for YouTube, but you spend more time on Patreon? That's a problem for me recently. I've been trying to find a balancing act, because essentially it's like you have 2 YouTube channels where you're trying to make this level of quality content, and it's hard. It really is. And you've got everything else going on. So I've been trying to do more time on YouTube now. That's why you've got a Chicken Run Versus video coming up. You had the 3-way Grinch Versus video coming up that I did recently, and the Godzilla -1 review I did recently. And you're going to get 2 more videos coming up with my top 5 best and worst movies. Then you're going to get the Echo Let's Binge Watch. So you're going to get a lot more YouTube videos now from me. I'm still working on my Patreon, but I'm trying to find a way to balance the two, because it is hard. Because you guys that support me on Patreon, you spend a lot of your money there. I want to make sure you get your money's worth, so I will always try to put the effort in. But the thing is, I'm just one person though, and I've got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life too. So yeah, it's hard to try to balance it all, but I'm trying my best. I'm never trying to give up. Adam Grunther responded to my question, says, Lionel was the reason I kept watching Smallville when it was having its worst moments. Yeah, I could imagine. He is a very good character. He's only sprinkled in. They tried to bring him more in Season 2 as well, because Season 1, I think he was only meant to be a side character, but then he ended up doing so well, they made him a lead. Like, he ended up in the main credits of Season 2, because in the first season, they didn't even give him a contract. That's how much he was a last-minute kind of thing. It was very good how they did it. Adam Grunther says, also, I've met John Glover, who played Lionel, and he was so nice. Oh, that's very good. Lucky. Did you meet the other actors too, then, I assume? Because they usually line up, and they're at cons in groups, usually, aren't they? So yeah, he's definitely my favourite character in Smallville. Yeah. Tom Welling, to me, was a great Clark Kent, because there was times where he would do stuff where it's like, that was totally a young Superman. Like, in the first few seasons, before he got more serious, he would be very cheesy. Like when he was first using his X-ray vision, and his father said, here, look at what's in my hand. Like, can you tell what's in my hand? There he goes, it's your pocket knife. And then his father goes up and says, you saw through my hand. And then Clark is like, no, you just always put your pocket knife in that pocket. And then his father looks like, yeah, I didn't get that right. Looks at his wife. She smiles. He looks back at Clark. And Clark just lets out this really cheesy Superman smile. I was like, that is totally young Superman right there. So yeah, he did a phenomenal job, he did. Tom Welling as Clark Kent, to me, I was like, I don't know if I can see another Clark Kent after this. Like, he really was. Yeah, to me, he is, in many ways, he kind of is the definitive Clark Kent to me. Definitive Superman is Christopher Reeve so far. But yeah, no, I loved Smallville. I remember during the pandemic, one of the first shows I did when that happened, I was like, I haven't seen Smallville in years. Let's watch it from the beginning to end. I thought let's start with season 3 at first. Then I thought, no, let's start from season 1, and I did. And I watched it all on my projector. It was so fun. Then my folks were saying, what's that? Like, they heard the Save Me music, and they were like, we want to watch it too. Then they started watching it, so yeah. What is your Mount Rushmore of comic book movies? How much of an impact made? My Mount Rushmore of comic book movies was The Dark Knight. That's my #1 favorite movie of all time, and to this day, it's not even been challenged. It's still my #1 favorite movie. What is your goal for this year? Says Brendan, the camera guy. My goal for this year is hopefully for my YouTube channel to actually become like a full-on career for me, where I can make revenue through my YouTube channel, my Patreon, and other outlets that I do. Because I love doing this, and I would like to continue to do it full time. Because that's essentially what I'm trying to do, is do this full time. Because this is what I'm most passionate about. So, alright, we'll have 5 more minutes on the stream, then it'll be 3 hours, which is kind of how we normally do 2.5 to 3 hour streams, and then I'm gonna go rest my throat and go make some food, because I am very hungry. Big Bash says, I hate New Year's resolutions. If you want to do something, just do it. I kind of agree. I mean, I don't hate them. I've never really given them much thought, to be honest. They're just kind of there. I've always had my plans for the coming year. But then when the New Year resolutions come, it's just basically the person. To me, I always see it as the person asking, what do you want to do this year? Which I've already planned the previous year. So that's kind of what it is for me. No, says 5 more minutes. Captain Eric. Yep, quoted from a wise man, a wise sailor and captain indeed. Jess says, Eric, read my comment on Dane DeHaan Green Goblin being scary. Let me look for your comment. Because his version of Green Goblin scares me the most than Willem's Sadie version. Eric, does Dane DeHaan Green Goblin scare you? No, he doesn't. Straight up, he just doesn't scare me. Arathorn, I'm sorry for not having responded to this. I've seen you post this for quite a while now, but I kept missing it. What would be your ideal Mortal Kombat movie? And don't just say Scorpion's Revenge. You read my mind. That kind of was, though. Okay, then, I'll say this. My ideal Mortal Kombat movie would be basically Scorpion's Revenge, but if you take Scorpion out of it. I liked the setup where they were going, and it was like a competition they were going to. Just give a bit more of a backstory as to how Raiden met Liu Kang, maybe. And then just set them on their way onto the Mortal Kombat tournament. That, I think, would be better. But just don't make the movie we got the last time. Or maybe if they made it like the first 5 minutes of the Mortal Kombat movie, which I thought was the best part of the movie. Maybe if they made it the whole film like that. Just a personal story between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, that would also be cool. But yeah, my ideal movie would really just be a mix of the two, but which I guess we kind of got in Scorpion's Revenge, didn't we? Uh, my ideal movie would be just the Mortal Kombat tournament one that I mentioned to you. Topher Lloyd, I always wondered, what if Monster House was rated R? I know it's supposed to be a horror movie for kids, but could it have been so much better? Kids kind of ruin everything. No, I think the movie had class. Because it was trying to push the PG rating the way it did, it felt like a good old classic Spielberg movie, like how he did the Goonies and things. So I think making it R-rated would have made it less special, in my opinion. But hey, that doesn't mean I'm against them making a sequel that could be rated R, or a remake that could be rated R, or a live-action one rated R, whatever. Actually, I would be against live-action. Please do that same animation again, and if it is, do a sequel, but don't make the sequel like the crappy sequels. Okay, we got a minute now, it looks like. So drop your questions. If you've got any super chats, drop those. This is going to be it, and then after a minute, I'll be leaving the stream. It was great chatting to all of you guys, by the way, so thank you very much. Most of you have stayed. I think this is the most I've had you guys stay on for this long as well. I already said, Matthew, what happened to 3-minute reviews. I answered that question earlier. Tanner, Loki Season 2, best show from the MCU. You need to watch it. But I haven't seen Season 1, though. So you want me to jump straight into Season 2? I don't think that's wise. Oh no, not I pranked my teacher again. Search up teratoma. He was the one. You were the one, weren't you? I said earlier when Jake told me to search something up, I said someone told me to search something and it, wasn't good what I had to search up. So it was you, wasn't it? I'm going to ask you not to do that again, I pranked my teacher, because you pranked me. And if you try to do it again, I'm going to have to make you I'm going to have to ban you for a period of time. So yeah, please don't post any more of those, okay? I don't want any... There are younger viewers on my channel. I don't want them to be searching any of that stuff up. What if Jim Carrey played the Joker instead of Jared Leto? I have no idea, honestly. It would just be too... He's crazy, but he's not... He's crazy, but he's not smart in how crazy he is. He's just kind of crazy for the sake of being crazy. Jim Carrey, if you saw him playing Joker, it wouldn't have fit Joker, I don't think. He would really have to hone in his performance. But thing is, we know what Jim Carrey looks like when he has a big smile on his face. We've seen him as the Grinch. We've seen him as Dumb and Dumber. We've seen him as Count Olaf. I don't know if he can really have the chops to be scary, I think. Let's see. Avengers Infinity War, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, of course, Rohan. Is that even a question? Orangutan, get him out, please. If he does do another one, then I will. But he's behaving, it seems like. Rohan says never again. Looks like I'm not the only one that's been pranked by that guy. So, there you go. You can take solace in the fact that you've pranked everyone, or most of them, and you don't need to do it again now. Can I ask, is there any movie review YouTubers you watch and enjoy? Some of mine are Skrelef and Sean. Yeah, I enjoy Jeremy Johns. Chris Stuckman I enjoy too, until he started wanting to get into Hollywood, and now he doesn't want to... He's afraid of saying bad things about movies, so he's much more careful. Kind of takes away from what is enjoyable about movie reviews then. So I'll only watch his reviews if he's talking about a movie that is genuinely good, that is interesting, then I'll watch that. But other than that, I'm curious to see what his movie is, though. That'll be fun. I cannot wait for your upcoming videos, says Rohan. Well, that's great. I cannot wait to show them to you, the upcoming videos. Last question. Jess says, Michael Keaton voice is the same, so did... Michael Keaton voice is the same, so did Kilmer. Of course, Clooney did, and even Bale and Affleck, says Eric. Oh yeah, this is a quote from my Versus video, isn't it? One of my Batman videos. Alright, which movie is the better? The Batman or Morbius? Of course, Lenny, it's the Batman. Okay, hey Eric, who's your favourite Star Wars character? Mine is Captain Rex. Who's yours? Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars. But I do love Rex. Captain Rex is my Avatar logo on Disney+. Okay, everyone, that is basically it. My voice is completely out. I am exhausted. I am starving. I'm all these things. Thank you very much for your donations. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, they always help. Anytime you want to donate, you can always click that Streamlabs link. You don't have to wait for a live stream, so it's always there. And, yeah, it can be anything for as little as buying me a coffee or just whatever you want to do. It's entirely your choice. But thank you very much for joining the stream. I really do appreciate it. It's always a highlight of my week to speak to you guys when I'm spending the rest of the week trying to make videos for you guys. So, thanks very much, and I'll catch all of you very soon. Take care.